dance around while my dumbass is simply had to log in to get this thing to work. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking around. And we have a very special guest tonight. I don't know how many of you have or had not heard her story before. One in the chat if you're familiar with it, two if you're not. But we're going to relax and take our time. This is part one of what will be at least two parts, maybe three, depending on how far we get. But as always, my friends, this stream is interactive. If you have any questions for Marilyn as we go along, we'll pop them up and we'll take some towards the end as well. And then also, since this is a really intense story, we'd like to make it a bit of a party game, so to speak. So as usual, if you put in the word Xenu in your comment and or question, and we flash it up, and Marlene, which is the evil cult leader that Marilyn will be talking about, probably in part two. If we throw it up, we take a hit of our favorite poison, mine being this. And Marilyn, what is yours?
I just have some light beer because I don't want to get
Light
white
beer,
girl
eh?
wasted. but
Okay.
I think I do need something. So
No, fair
and
enough.
my
You
hubby
say,
said I can have a cigarette tonight too. So
oh,
I may.
nice. Normally, she's not allowed to smoke in the house. And by the way, we know that's vodka, Marilyn, but I'll play along and pretend that that's light
Okay.
beer. Okay.
I don't know. I might get copyright strike, but it's that.
Fair enough. And I don't know if you're already, we're going to lean into this. We're not going to get totally blasted, but Mandy just can't help herself. So let's go ahead and get started, Marilyn, shall we? The rest of the
Absolutely.
group, let's get a nice buzz going as we settle into what is going to be an amazing and hopefully we're not going to cry, right, Marilyn?
I'm
going
gonna
to
try
fucking
not
cry.
to, but my viewers know me, so yeah, I'll
You
do
wear
my
your
best.
heart on your sleeve, ma'am, which is more
You
than
do too,
fine.
Doug. You're a
I know
softie.
it's embarrassing.
We love
Okay,
you.
so how about Marilyn? For those that don't know you, how about you introduce yourself? Could you
Okay,
give us a quick 30-second or minute overlay of the whole story
absolutely.
arc we're going to be talking about, and then we'll take it from
Okay.
when you pop out of the womb.
Okay. Awesome. So my name is Marilyn Honig. I was never in Scientology for some people who have asked many times, but I am a cult survivor of I call it a petri dish religion. It was a combination of a charismatic slash fundamental Pentecostal slant, which is what I was raised in from the time I was 9, and also very heavily influenced by the IBLP, which is Bill Gothard's ministry slash cult
What
that
does
you may be familiar.
IBLP? What does IBLP stand for, Marilyn?
So IBLP is Institute in Basic Life Principles. If
Hmm,
anyone has seen the Shiny Happy People documentary that the Duggars that they did on the Duggars, it was their cult that they came out of.
really?
It was we'll totally go into that in part two, definitely.
Sure.
But for those who don't know, it was a non-denominational ministry. It wasn't an actual church, but it was very highly. Oh, Michelle. Hi.
Michelle's here. Hi, Michelle.
I love her. I love you, Michelle. Yeah, so it was my husband calls it the smart bomb of Christianity, of Pentecostalism, because they did these big seminars. They taught these principles about authoritarianism, and even in public schools in the Bible Belt. And it was like basically a they talked about an umbrella of authority and all of this dogmatic, very patriarchal authoritarian structure. So that was a combination of the crazy, casting out demons, speaking in tongue. We'll talk about all that
Okay.
tonight, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny that it's amazing that all these cults, these destructive cults, and even religions, right, Marilyn, they all seem to have a demon part. Ours is
Yeah.
reserved until we get to OT3 and beyond, and we are
Body
literally
pain.
exercising
Yeah.
demons. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's wild. Yeah.
I know it's all about demons. By the way, do you believe in demons post cult, or do you did that kind of go away? I was just curious right out of the gate.
I don't know. I kind of just put everything aside and I'm just taking back little bits and pieces. I think
Nice.
there's something out there, but what I do know is that I don't know, you know?
That's
And
exactly what I say.
and I kind of feel, yeah, maybe that makes us agnostic, but I kind of feel like I don't want to skip over this life, worried about the next one, if there is one,
Exactly.
right? It's like
Exactly.
we've got friends and family and puppies and whatever. Oh, you're getting a puppy. I'm just telling you right now.
I
You
live
need a puppy.
vicariously through yours. Speaking of puppies, he's not around. You can't show the 3-year-old little
I
baby. Is
will
he in
later.
the
I'll
room?
go grab
Okay.
one of them later.
Guys, stick around because he is a super cutie. He's got these tan little paws, and she just showed him to me. He's like a little wolf dog, and he's only 3 months old. So we'll show him to you as
His
we
name's
round up.
Rocky, and he's got boxing gloves. He's ready to fight.
And we know why you named him Rocky, but that's also a surprise that Marilyn will
That's
share
right.
as we
Yep.
get into the exiting part.
Yep. Absolutely.
Do you mind
Yeah.
taking a quick question from Michelle right before we
Sure.
get
Absolutely.
into you literally popping out of the womb and going on this adventure that you were not even slightly prepared for? I mean, who would be? Hey, Michelle, on demons and cults, cults require an enemy. Exactly. Us versus them, right?
Yep.
And they
Hmm.
work best when the enemy might be inside anyone the leaders want.
That
So true, man.
is
I never thought of that.
bingo. That is absolutely 100% true.
Michelle,
Um,
that is
if
good,
you get
man.
yeah, if they get you doubting yourself, doubting your own thoughts, navel gazing, like looking within constantly and just you go crazy. And we'll talk about that too because people did go
Sure.
crazy in my cult. I shouldn't say go crazy. They had mental ill, they had
They
mental
were
breakdown.
driven crazy, though. They were
And
driven.
I would have had a mental breakdown if not for crochet, I think, because it kind of kept me in my body, you know?
Yeah.
And if Marlene, I'm just saying Marlene, if she knew how much I like to crochet and she thought I was just being a servant, making blankets and stuff, utilitarian things, if she knew how much I depended on it and how much of a comfort it was, she would have taken it away. So it's a little
Fuck
early in the stream to
Marlene.
say F you, Marlene,
Hey,
but F you,
fuck
Marlene.
Marlene, fuck Xenu, and I mean, we have a party crowd, it looks like, in here. We made him wait for an hour. I see you guys are trying to get us trashed before we get to the end of stream. So be it. No, I told Aaron, why the fuck did that pop up? Because you guys were talking about Aaron earlier. I told Marilyn that I can smoke an ounce and still be coherent. So don't worry about me. But you,
Oh,
young lady,
I'm Irish and my body mass, yeah, light beer is
okay.
just, merely a flesh wound here.
Oh, that's so funny, by the way. We'll get into the flesh wound part too, because that part cracks me up
Oh,
when
you
you
like
talk
that?
about the recovery. Merely a flesh wound. Again, guys, stick around to find out the inside jokes that are already kicking off. Marilyn, do you want to take us from when you popped out of the womb into this mad world?
Okay. Wow, I don't think I ever have really told that to anyone. I mean, not anyone, but yeah. So, my mother, she was from actually born in the town that I'm in Vermont, right over the border from Western Massachusetts. She got married, she had adopted a little girl. I didn't know her as a child. Her name was well, I guess I won't say her name, but anyways, she
Mm,
adopted her, and then didn't think she could have children. She had six more children of her own with her husband. Um, she had in 1970, she had an extramarital affair and found out she was pregnant. And in 1970, that was very, very frowned on. And she was well known in the community. I found out later that she did a lot of charity work, kind of like what I do now. Um, and she was on the different committees to help people find housing, and which is what I do now. But she also, maybe I guess wasn't happy in the marriage. She had an affair. She found out she was pregnant. She moved the whole family to North Shore, Boston, in Haverhill, which is north of Boston, and was a single mom with 7 kids. And I was born in Haverhill, Mass. And my biological father, I'll just say his first name, Bob. He he lived with us back and forth. He was kind of a little bit, I would say, out of it. He had a lot of struggles with mental illness and alcoholism. And I do remember him as a kid, but he was kind of in and out of our life. But we lived in various houses that my mother was renting, and I believe we were probably on welfare. And I remember some of my earliest memories. I remember being 3 in a different house that was not the house that the fire happened in when I was 5. When I was about 3, I remember my mom um, crying on the phone, and my oldest brother, we called him Buddy. His name was Herman after his father. He had gone into the Navy, and he went home on leave to see his father in Western Mass, and they found him Sorry, I can do this, I can do this.
Take your
They found
time,
him in
Marilyn. It's okay. It's okay. And you can skip over anything you feel
yeah,
uncomfortable talking about. No problem.
it's okay. I don't really remember him, but it's always, tough to talk about these things. Yeah, so she was crying because, they'd found him in the backyard and, he had taken his own life. And
How old was he, Marilyn?
he was about I think he was 19, 19 or
19?
20.
This is your
Yeah.
brother?
Yeah, Herman, yeah. We
I'm
called him
sorry,
Buddy.
man. I didn't know that part of your story.
That's okay, yeah. I know, I'm sorry, I didn't couldn't tell you. I didn't get to tell you everything. And I would just wanna say right now too, if I giggle or laugh, it's not because I think it's funny, it's because I've developed a really dark sense of humor in a ways, like, it just helps me cope. Do you have that at all, Doug?
Yep, I was just gonna say that, but I didn't
Okay,
wanna
thank you.
interrupt. Yes, that's exactly where my
Okay,
sardonic sense of humor comes from, what you just said.
okay, thank you. Um, so yeah, um, I my memories of my mom, I remember her being really sweet, like, just hugging me all the time. I remember, her making toast. You know, I have these little memories. I remember telling me, "Don't eat the watermelon seeds because they could make you sick," things like that. And, I just remember being her shadow. I'd follow her everywhere, even into the bathroom, and I would ask questions about anatomy and stuff. And, she was always just very, like, nice, and I just remember her being so loving. And,
That's where you get that from, because I was gonna ask you right out of the gate, Marilyn, if you've always been this way with kind of this bright, shiny, positive personality. Have you always kind of been like that? You think you got that from your mom?
I think it's always been in there, but, mm, when you I don't know. I guess, yeah, your personality is your personality, right? Whether it's suppressed or not. So I went through a lot of shit, but yeah, I've always been a little bit of a spitfire, but I did change a lot over the years. And then in the past 15, I've been out 16 years,
Mhm.
kind of grew into my own who I am again. And it's really funny because my daughter is the same way. She's just, she wasn't a good cult member either at all, you
You
know.
were never kinda designed to be a good cult member, as
I
people are gonna find
wasn't.
out,
I
because you were so
wasn't.
rebellious like me.
I
So
know.
I have so many questions already, like, so how does a rebellious person like you get involved in it? But you were led into it. You didn't really have any choice, as we're gonna come to understand.
Yeah, and but I did have the idealism, I did have
Mhm.
the searching, and we'll get into that, the whole thing. Yeah, so I mean, we could go on, we could do an 8-part series.
Yeah, we probably will. Like I said, friends, we're not gonna get through the whole story. We'll end off, um, whenever it feels right. But so we're because there's so much. I already have a million questions that I want to ask you, but we're gonna be jumping ahead in the story. So right out of the womb, you had to deal with the trauma of your brother. Do you mind if I ask how old you were, Marilyn, when that happened?
I was 3. I
3?
only remember my mom crying. I don't remember Buddy, really. I don't have memories of him.
No
Um
memories at all? I mean, his face or anything?
I know what he looks like because 'cause I've seen pictures, so I do remember a picture of him, his military pictures, a Navy picture a shelf or something. So I knew who he was, but I don't remember any interaction or conversation with him or anything like that.
Do you mind if I ask you, what the contribution was to his suicide? Was it the military? Did he have PTSD when he came back from the military, or was something else going on?
Um, it was, it was thought that he was gay
Mhm.
and, that he was, having a hard time with it and not, being accepted, and this was in 1970
When it was
when it
not
was a total
acceptable.
no-no.
Yeah.
So, that's what many of, my, uh, cousins and even his own father, you know, thought. So,
I'm sorry, man.
yeah.
Oh my god, that sucks. Does the story get any happier as we progress, Marilyn,
I
or
No, I'm sorry. Let's well, let's just get through this part, and then we can
Sure,
we can
sure.
talk about the crazy faith healer because that's fun.
People
That's
really
funny.
wanna hear the word Marlene soon too, so guys, it does well, she's seriously a survivor. I've actually never heard a story like this before. It briefly reminds me a little bit, Marilyn, of, Kelly Copter's upbringing, where she pops out of the womb and she was labeled a demon at age 6 and didn't have any chance, and that's just something she had to
Yeah.
work herself out of like you did. Okay, I'm sorry to I didn't know that about your brother. I'm really sorry to hear that. When you, so you're 3 years old, and then what happens?
Yeah. Okay. So then we moved to another house, a place called High Street, and I I think I went to kindergarten. Yeah, I was 5.5. So yeah, I went to kindergarten early when I was 4, turning 5, and we were just living in the house with all my older siblings. My sister Jamie was 9 at the time when I was so I'm jumping to when I was 5.
Mhm.
My sister I had 2 sisters, Sherry and Jamie. Sherry was older than me, way older. She was like 16, 17. But I was very attached to her. She was like my second mom. And we shared a bedroom. And I remember we had, yeah, that's me when I was 5.
There, look at how cute she is, Marilyn. See, you can even see the brightness in you. I mean, I guess kids are bright anyways, but you can see the shiny, happy person.
I
That's a
love the
terrible phrase to
ocean.
use. That's the Duggart
Oh,
shit, but
yeah,
you
shiny, happy
I'm sorry.
people. I know. It's
But
okay.
seriously, you look all bright and, you look the same personality, man, right there. You can see it all. Oh, how old are
I
you here,
love
by
the
the way?
beach. I was 5, I think,
Me too.
there. Yeah. I love the beach. I still do. Still
Me
love the
too.
beach.
Me too.
But, so, my I guess I should give a little bit of background. I don't wanna get totally into the weeds about, um, the lead up to the fire and why the fire happened, how the fire happened. I mean, there's no reason why. There's never I mean, this is just it was horrible, and, I'll just tell you, it was, deliberately set, which was fucking, um yeah. Um, but, when my mom was preparing to move us, she was getting threats from the landlord.
Mhm.
And she hired a lawyer because the threats were getting really, really bad. She owed him $300. And even in 1970, $300 isn't a fortune, but she owed him $300. And he was threatening to burn the house down. And
The
uh,
landlord, Marilyn,
the landlord was threatening to burn the house down. Yes.
to burn his own house down?
Yes.
Was he
To get well,
insane? Was
because
he
there was a ring of arson there was an arson ring, um, that people were burning their own fucking houses down to get insurance money,
wow, that was actually a
and
thing, eh?
yeah, and she was getting all kinds of threatening calls. She had witnesses, they didn't have, like, recording like, you couldn't like Reese does, you can't really record them back then, but she kept a journal, and she, got a lawyer and, gave him the journal and said, "If anything happens to me, save this journal." Sorry.
It's
"Save
okay,
this
Marilyn.
journal, hold on to it." Um, so, in, May 19th, 1976, um, I woke up in the middle of the night. I just remember I guess in the newspaper, it says I was screaming outside, that I'd been rescued outside, the fire when it happened, but I just remember, being held by this woman in her terry cloth bathrobe. I just remember the bathrobe, and I remember looking at her face and hearing all the sights and the sounds and the smells and just being scared to death. And I looked up at her face, and she just had terror on her face. And I was hearing all kinds of noises and sirens and everything. And I knew from the smell that it was a fire. It was just so chaotic and crazy, and I didn't see anybody I recognized. She was trying to get me to not look back, you know. And then I had 2 police officers put me in the back of a cruiser. And okay, I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna drink. And here's to Xenu
Fair
and
enough.
Marlene.
Let's throw it anybody throwing in a Xenu or Marlene to help us out here? Come on, guys. You gotta be on the ball. Are you gonna make me type it out? Okay, stand by, Marilyn. Have you dead drunk by the end of the stream yet? All right. Guys, what she's referring to, real quick, by the
Thank you.
way, maybe to make it easier, Marilyn, just so you don't have to beat a dead horse here and we could, you know, get through it and move on.
Okay.
Just wanted to show people that, so she was involved in a fire. Can I ask you, Marilyn, that the gal that you're talking about, whose arms you were in, she was what? She wasn't a firefighter. She was there. Who was
She
she?
was a neighbor. Actually, one of the clippings I gave you,
Hmm.
I must have run up to her because I said they're upstairs.
There it is.
So it says 6 dead, 6 injured, several rescued in fire believed set.
Who, Marilyn? Who was in the house? Were they? Who were the 12 people?
Okay. So, sorry.
It's
Okay,
okay.
so it was me.
If I ask you anything that you don't want to answer, just say I don't want to answer that, and
Yeah.
everybody understands.
I
Because I don't want to accidentally ask you something that
No, I will answer it. I just am trying not to cry. So guys, if I cry, I'm sorry. But
it's
I'm gonna
okay.
answer it.
You got a good crew here.
Um if I probably will skip over a lot of my 5 to 9
Sure.
age years, and that's my wolf child, lost child years, but I can talk about the fire. But yeah, I
Okay.
will only say what I feel like I can say.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so no, I think it's important to know. So, I'll start with, people that were rescued, that survived, was myself. Um, my father was there that night. Um, my aunt Shirley was there. My older brother David, he was next in line from Buddy, and then Sherry, my sister, was babysitting. She wasn't there that night, so she didn't have any injuries or anything. And there was David's uh, girlfriend, Karen, and then there was a little baby, a 1-year-old baby, Melissa. And then who perished in the fire was my mother, Rose. And I'm going to say her name because it's important later on. Her name's important later on. Um, and my sister Jamie, who was 9, she had a friend sleeping over. Her name was Donna. And if it would have been any other night, they were sleeping in the room that I shared with Sherry. So if it was any other night that Sherry hadn't been babysitting, it would have been me and Sherry in that room. And then I had Shirley's, sorry, Shirley's son. We called him Ray Ray. His name was Raymond. Uh, my brother, my brother Michael. He was 12. And sorry, and my brother Twinkie. We called him Twinkie because he had blonde hair and he looked like a Twinkie. He was skinny and he just looked like a Twinkie. His name was Perry. So yeah, so they perished. And yeah, if you want to,
I'm
you can read.
so sorry, Marilyn. I didn't know this. I hope that was okay to ask.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't know.
okay. So there were 12. And when I told you, I started to tell you about the fire, the police cruiser. So they put me in there and brought me to the hospital, and where I stayed. I only needed to stay there a week, but I ended up staying for over probably 6 weeks to 2 months because they okay, if you keep on that, it says
Hmm.
Marilyn Briggs, 5, remains a patient at the hospital while officials try to determine where she will live. So I only needed to stay for about a week. I did have 3rd-degree burns on my hands, 2nd-degree on my face. Keep in mind I was only 5, so thank goodness my face
Wow.
is I have a big face and it's grown a lot. So if you
You have
without
a
the makeup,
beautiful
you
face
can.
too.
Thank you.
You really do.
You can see the scars without my makeup, but I was very fortunate, and my hands are still deeply scarred, but it says suffered.
She
Oh, is it
suffered
old?
burns
Yeah,
and smoke inhalation.
I don't know
Well,
what that blocked out. All these there was so much ink like splattered everywhere on these some of these old things. Burns and smoke inhalation. Yeah,
a next
this
door
was the
neighbor,
neighbor. Yep.
Mrs. Pauline, apologies if I mispronounce this, Pagagopoulos. Am I pronouncing
Mhm.
that right?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
I've never well, I guess I met her that night, but I haven't met
That
her.
was the
I
gal
wanna
that
see if
was
she's
holding
still
you?
alive. I do
Was sh
wanna see if Hannity's and Combs and Como Hannity's and Combs Hannity what is it? I forgot their name. Hannity's and
Oh,
Como
yeah, the
were the 2
firefighters.
firefighters, yeah.
I'll read that
Um,
out. But this
but
is was this the woman that was holding you that night,
I
Marilyn?
think it was. It might have
Pauline?
been. I'm not sure.
Well, it says she was awakened by a puff and heard a young girl screaming. She said she ran from her home.
That was me.
She said she ran from her home and saw that the girl had escaped from the burning building, and you're screaming, "They're upstairs, they're upstairs." Do you even remember, Marilyn, like, anything before that, or did your
I
memory just
don't
kinda take hold when she's holding you?
I don't remember screaming. I just remember
Wow.
being outside and her holding me. But it had to be me. I was the only girl that escaped.
You
I
were
was
the
the only
only
child.
one? You were
What?
the only child that escaped? Were there and there was other yeah,
Except for the
there
baby was, sorry,
it's
the
okay.
baby was on the 2nd floor and the mother jumped Karen jumped off the roof with her, the back.
Oh my god.
So I was the only child. Yeah, sorry. 5 yeah, 5 children died.
Um,
Alright, how about that scene of shit?
I know, right? Guys, we might end up on our asses tonight. I don't think that's a bad idea. I didn't know this part of the story, Marilyn. I'm so sorry, ma'am.
It's okay.
Quick scene break.
It's been 47 years, it's okay. It's been
Yeah, but
47.
I imagine that that doesn't go away.
No, it
That's a
doesn't.
permanent
It
scar.
doesn't. And I don't want people feeling bad for me because, like, I just I'm telling it because if it can help somebody else relate, because we all have a story, you know? We all have things that, are hard to talk about, and,
Mhm.
if, I always say if a middle-aged crochet lady from the holler can come out here and talk about it, then anybody can,
You've been
you know?
such a blessing to have in this community, Marilyn. I mean, I didn't know who you were, you know? You said that you watch Leah Remini, and that's what kinda got you to relate as we get
Yeah,
later into the story that you were in a cult,
totally.
but you've been a fucking blessing to have in this community.
Thank
Everybody
you.
loves you, man, and they I really a lot of people have already had healing just by the channel, the croqueting, and all the wonderful work you do, and this is the community where I mean, I don't know if any of us has had as bad as you, Marilyn, especially starting out of the womb, but, it is a community of, trauma survivors, so to speak.
Yeah.
So,
There's no
appreciate
yeah,
you
there's no
sharing
comparison. It's just yeah, I mean, is that's sometimes why I don't wanna tell my story, and but
because
I
you don't
feel
want
like
people to feel sorry for you and
yeah,
compare and all that
and I
stuff.
don't want them to think I'm lying either, because it's so fucking crazy.
I've
Thank
only
you,
known
empathy,
one
man. Love
asshole
you.
that ever said that you're lying. Nobody's doubted your story, right? Other
No,
than
nobody.
other than what's his name? Do you have a glass there, young lady, that you'd like to show?
It's just
Guys,
a parody.
can you who the
Everybody
who made
pay no
that?
attention, pay no attention, it's just a
Who
parody.
made that?
Kelly Cofter made it and
Kelly
sent it
made
to
that?
me.
That's so good. 1 in the chat if you know who that asshole is, 2 if you don't. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't know Kelly
Yeah.
made a freaking
Yeah, and,
mug of him.
it's really funny that, he was doubting it and all that or not doubting it, basically saying I'm a liar.
He was a fucking dickhead, Marilyn, and
He
what he
was there.
wrote in the comment section was inappropriate. The
And
guy's just
anybody who tried to defend me is like, "I wish you were in the house too," but the house that doesn't exist, you know? But, yeah, it's like,
yeah,
"Whatever, dude." It's
prove
like
it, show photos. That guy has
it's just so
no
funny.
class.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't buy into the whole everybody's OSA thing. Like, I mean, who fucking knows if I know he's not OSA because he's not really smart enough to be, but like if he's being paid by somebody who's being somebody who's it's like it doesn't matter, but like if he is trying to find my button or my ruin, guess what? I've already been ruined. And I've risen up from the ashes. And here I am. And you know what? I'm making fucking like at least 7 videos a week half the time. I'm gonna make 7 more next week. He's not gonna hurt he's not gonna stop me. So just,
This Kimberly would like to see the mug a little bit closer if you don't mind. I actually, Kimberly, I'll take my ass out of this so you can get a full picture of Marilyn.
oh, it's like all right. So we got that and we got another side because Kelly's very thorough. It says it ain't no joke. Coffee is
That's
no joke.
so funny. And by the way, it's everything's backwards, but I think you guys know who we're talking about. He would be thrilled to know that we wasted 5 minutes on him. But
Yes. 5
Tony,
minutes of fame.
Tony, this next one is for you, just for bringing us all together even closer and
Yes.
attempting to add trauma to the community, but achieving the opposite. We're not going to make it through this stream, Marilyn.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody.
Fucking A. Tony, this one's for you.
And who are we
It,
talking about? The tomato. Oh, yeah. His last name rhymes with tomato, but you
yes.
say tomato, I say tomato. Tomato.
The
Tomato.
model. The model. Hey. If you guys don't know who we're talking about, don't fucking worry about it, man. We'll deal with
Yeah.
it at the end, all right? Fuck. Denver, Steve, what's going down? We're talking about the fucking tomato. You got a problem with that, Denver?
You talking to me? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we need to lighten it up a little bit, man, because this is heavy already.
Yeah.
Okay, Marilyn, can I read out the
Yes.
firefighter statement if you don't mind? Because it
Yes.
just encapsulates what we're talking about. It's
Yeah. It
both
was an excerpt
beautiful
from
and
a book. Yep.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What was the name of the book, by the way? Well, it says it right
It's
here.
called, yeah.
I wish I had a picture of the cover. So this is written in 2013 by
You
a
would,
fighter
you would,
fighter. Mm,
well, the cover, I don't have a picture of, I do have a picture of it because I have the book, but
mhm.
the picture, the cover of the chapter is what you showed where it says the day the heroes cried. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where it says six were, yeah,
this one right here. That
that's
is
the
this
cover.
actually the cover of the book? This
No,
is the newspaper article, but you're saying that's what went on the cover?
there were like cover pages of each chapter, and that's the chapter,
I
the day
see.
the heroes cried. That was my fire. I call it
Wow.
my fire. I don't, yeah.
Wow, they actually have pictures of it here of them scaling up on the second floor. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, so here's what the firefighter had to say in that book, which gave me a hell of a lot more respect for firefighters if I didn't already have it. So this is
Mhm.
excerpt from 32 years on a hometown. So this guy spent 32 years as a hometown fire department. The day the heroes cried. This is May 19th, 1976, Havenhill, Massachusetts. A little piece of each firefighter died that night of sorrow within themselves. One of the worst feelings a firefighter can feel is the loss of a brother firefighter in the line of duty and children losing their lives in a fire. It leaves a scar of sadness that they'll never forget. There were some heroic saves that night and also 6 tragic losses. The firefighters gave their best efforts to try and save lives that night. Lieutenant, I knew I was going to mispronounce this, Marilyn. I even asked you beforehand.
I think it's Hannity's and Como.
Hannity's.
Yeah.
Hannity's. So Lieutenant Hannity's and Larry Como did everything they could to try and reach those children. The fire had too much headway, along with the obstacles that were placed in their way, obstructing them. After the fire was out and it was time to renew. I'm so sorry you lost your mom, Marilyn. I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine what that would be like. Oh my God. And the fire was after the fire was out and it was time to remove the mother and 5 children from the building, all the firefighters and those who assisted in removing the children were glassy eyed from the tears. This was the day the heroes cried. And that's just one excerpt from the 3 chapters that Marilyn sent over. But if I read all of them, we'd all be in tears. But wow. You're not in contact with any of those firefighters or anything anymore, are you? You probably
Uh,
barely knew them.
a few years ago, when I found out about the book, it was written in 2013. I
Mhm.
didn't find out about it until maybe 2018, 2019. I
Really?
Yeah, I there's a firefighters museum which I'm actually planning on going in the spring. I have a plan with the and I'll mention that in a minute about my connection there. But I talked to Lieutenant Ralph Brown, who wrote the book,
Mm.
and he's in his 80s now. He wrote a memoir about all of the different fires that he had fought in his brothers and his brother firefighters, and had tons of pictures in the book. And there's a firefighters museum that he founded, I guess, and kept all those archives in the museum. And he was selling the books. I bought like 4 copies. I gave him 2. different people who really wanted him. And I talked to him on the phone, and he said he always wondered what happened to me, and he kept saying, "I'm sorry, we tried," and I said, "I know you did, and thank you because I'm alive,"
God.
and I was glad I was able to thank him because then I'm not sure if he's alive anymore, but I am in touch with the mayor of Haverhill, who, if you remember, I told you that my mom had hired a lawyer when she was getting threats, and that lawyer is now the mayor of Haverhill. And the way I found that out was in 2021, so it was only 2 years ago. I just decided I would put a random post on the Haverhill. There's called Haverhill 411, which is like like a citywide chat thing where people they complain about what I mean. They just talk
Yeah.
like a community chat. And I said, "Hi, I don't know if anybody remembers me or my family, but." I just said we had a fire. Da, da. It was like so many people were commenting, "Oh my god, I was friends with Donna. Oh my god, I was friends with your sister. I was friends with." And then the mayor said, "Hi, Marilyn, I'm the mayor. Can you please? I knew your mother. Can you please send me a message?" So I messaged him. He friended me, and he told me the story. And it is like a true crime story. Um, the landlord was framed, and
Really?
yes, there was well, he was threatening, so they thought it was him. There was a
Mhm.
grand jury that was convened, and he was pretty much ready to be sent off,
Really? He
on
was
trial.
framed that well, eh? They definitely thought it was him, and it
Yeah,
wasn't.
no.
Wow.
It turned out to be, if you remember my cousin Ray Ray that passed away in the fire, it was his mother, my aunt Shirley.
Do you mind if I ask why she did that?
She claimed that she was just trying to help, basically to I don't know exactly, except that it was like trying to blame it on the landlord so that um I don't fucking know. I
Marilyn,
mean,
this
who
is
does
your
that?
aunt? This is your aunt?
It was my
So
mother's half sister.
so
Yeah.
was
And
she trying to kill everybody? Did she know you
no,
were in the house? She didn't know you were in the
no,
house or
she
what?
no, she said she was trying to start a little fire just to get the landlord in trouble. And it was a drafty night. They had in the 1970s, they had what's called gasoline paneling. The paneling in the hallway was highly flammable, and she used. If you read the chapter that I sent you, the three pages,
Yeah, I did.
lighter fluid was used as an incendiary. So it went up within minutes. The fire station was literally at the bottom of the hill, and they couldn't get to it fast enough. It was fully engulfed within minutes. She never planned on killing her own son, her own sister.
What did she think would happen though? That's so
I don't
stupid.
fucking know. It was insane.
And then
And
she tried to frame it rather than take responsibility for it
yeah,
too.
yeah. So investigation, it's like it was all kind, everybody was investigating it. And when she was found to have done it, um, I remember I don't have a copy of that. I'd probably have to go and find the microfilm at the library if they still have it. But I lost the copy of her being hauled away in handcuffs weeks, if not months later. And it says front page, woman charged with 6 counts of murder. And she ended up pleading temporary insanity and only got 6 months in, I think it was Belchertown.
I do know
And
that part. Guys, did you hear what she said? You know what she did, and she pled insanity. And apparently, rather than spending life in prison, she was out in 6 fucking months. Unbelievable. How is that even possible, Marilyn? I mean,
I don't know,
was
but I
she?
never she tried to reach out to me when I was in the foster home, and I wouldn't
You
ever
tell her to
see her
go fuck
again.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was little, I was just, like, 10 or 11,
Oh
I was just like,
my
"I never wanna
god,
see her
man.
again. I never wanna see her again," and I never did. She went to her grave, and I never saw her again. I couldn't.
How could she
There was
even live with
no reason.
herself doing that?
What?
I don't even know how she could live with herself doing that. or why she'd
Kill
even
their own
dare to
son.
reach out to you.
Yeah,
So she just went
yeah.
about living the rest of her life, 6 months. Was she, suddenly uncrazy, at a certain point?
I have
Did
no idea because I didn't give a fuck. I
Yeah,
didn't wanna
yeah.
listen. I didn't care. If anyone mentioned her name, I just I'd never wanna hear about her again. Insanity was hard to disprove.
But even yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have any you don't remember if she was insane or not. You didn't ascertain her state of mind at that time at all, Marilyn, to get any feel for if she's bullshitting or not? I was just curious.
No.
Oh my god.
I vaguely remember her, but I never saw her again. I couldn't, Doug, you know?
Understandably so. I would
Yeah.
I would
I didn't
want to
even
kill
wanna know
her.
that she still was
Yeah.
breathing, honestly, you know? Yeah, so,
Okay,
when I was
so we got through that hard part, right, Marilyn? I mean, we can
Yes.
finally get to the freaky ass, like,
Okay. Yeah, so
semi-culty
we'll skip
shit.
so I'll give
Ju
you a little bit of, just kind of a lead up to the context of the foster home. So I was like I said, I was in the hospital, for longer than I needed to be, and, when I was finally released, I, just kind of like of course, my father wasn't on my birth certificate. My mother's husband, estranged husband was, who I didn't know, and, he didn't want me, and I didn't know him, so whatever. I had no guardian, and so I just kind of lived wherever, suffered a lot of abuse, pretty much
m
everything you can imagine.
Marilyn,
Um,
your mom was out of the picture how so? Oh, I'm sorry.
my mom died.
I'm sorry. I just realized that as I said it. I'm so sorry. You you don't have a mom. Your dad, you didn't really know him kinda anyways, which I didn't quite get the dad part.
Yeah, so, on my birth certificate was my mother's estranged husband, and I didn't
Okay.
know him, Herman, and
Okay.
so he lived in Western Mass. I was still in Haverhill.
And your
I
mom
ended up
was raising you by herself. Hence, he was estranged, so you didn't know him and you didn't have him to go back to. Did you try to reach out
well,
to him or
he was not my real father. He was on my
I
birth
see.
certificate, but I didn't know him. He wasn't
I see.
he not hated me, but I was an affair baby, right? I wasn't his.
I see.
So, and all of his kids had passed away except for David and Sherry, my older sister and my older brother, who, David's the only one that's still alive besides me out of the 7. And, Sherry and David they were too old for, like, foster care or anything. They just ran away and fended for themselves. So, my real father, my whatever biological father, became a raging alcoholic. I tried living with him for a while, super abusive. I was living with different relatives. Sherry tried to take me in, but she was homeless too, so that was rough. Yeah, so I was just couch hopping with whoever I could live with,
At
and
5 years old. My
5 to
god.
8.5, yeah. So I've lived with, different people. Yeah, suffered a lot of abuse. I did have a bright spot is that, at one of the houses I lived in, I think it was, I had like, I think 4 different second grades. The school was very, sporadic too. But I was in different second grades, but I remember, I think it was first or second grade, somebody hooked me up with Big Sister, Big Brother Association. And there was this wicked nice lady. I say wicked nice because I'm from Boston originally. But
Nice.
her name was Christine, and she used to take me out on Saturdays, and her parents had like an in-ground pool, and I loved her so much. And um I lost touch with her when I was moved to back to Western Mass. So I never saw her again until I was about late 30s, early 40s, about 15 years ago. She found me after all these years, and she said she had wanted to adopt me, but she couldn't find me. So
Wow.
she's in her
Wow.
70s now. I've seen her a few times. I talked to her. She lives in New Hampshire, and just lovely. Yeah. So that was a bright spot, that somebody cared, and I never forgot that. And
When did you find that out, Marilyn, that she cared and that she wanted to adopt you?
not
Did
till
you
I was
find
like 40. It was a little late to adopt me.
Can you imagine how different do you ever think about how different your life would have been if she had
Yes,
adopted you?
I do. But then, I've got 3 beautiful children, and they're in their 20s now, they're so beautiful, and my husband and all of
Yeah.
you, like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have any of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like when
Bittersweet.
you try to go back and erase everything,
You
you're
can't.
gonna erase everything that was good too.
That's a great viewpoint because I've often wondered about that. That's really well said because you could, of course, see, oh, yeah, I would have not gone through the very stuff we're going to discuss. You wouldn't be, getting dunked into water and have demons removed from you. And perhaps you would have had a completely different upbringing, but but there's good that goes with that too, and strength and lessons and shit too. And you can't take it back anyways. Can't live in
Right.
the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marilyn, do you mind if I ask you a quick question that
No,
somebody
go ahead.
asked so we
Yeah.
can just because I feel like if we miss this one and take it up at the end, we're not going to
Right.
get the context. Does this ring a bell at all to you? Hey, Ann, cute little kitty, by the way. Marilyn, have you heard of Mick Philpott? It's a UK case of fire from 2013, and she says it's really eerily similar to what happened to your family. Does that ring a bell at all?
No. Mick
Okay,
Philpott. No.
doesn't ring a bell. Okay. By the way, real quick, just to
Go look it up.
throw in the word. Let's pretend there's a Xenu in there, Marilyn, because I think we're going to need a
Cheers.
lot this time. Pretend that's Xenu, and from N again, SPs are Scientology's demons prior SOT3. I never thought of that, but that's a good way of looking at it.
These are Scientology's demons.
We're not necessarily looked at as demons. There's demon
Right.
exorcism in OT3. In other words, and like in Scientology, we're called thetans, spiritual beings. And then there's also body thetans, which are the demons, the spiritual beings. They're still spiritual beings that you get rid of on OT3. So SP, suppressive persons, those are people who doubt Scientology or try to snap people out of the cult. We're not necessarily the same demons that you would find on the upper levels, but your point is taken. Might as well be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay, so thank you for that question. We'll
yeah.
cover some of those later. So at least it lightens up a little bit because you're not joining the cult yet. When you
No.
finally find a foster place to land, you got your trash bag, I believe, where you show up,
That's right. I was a black trash bag kid. I was.
I'm proud
That's
of it.
why I like to donate little duffel bags and backpacks and stuff to
Nice.
foster kids because I know what that's like. Yeah, just kind of going from pillar to post and yeah. So DCF finally stepped in. I don't. I think I told you this, Doug. I don't ever remember having a social worker, nothing in my
Really?
life. No,
Did
no
you have one that you
counseling.
just don't remember, or you simply did not have one, as far as you know?
As far as I know, no,
Well, I
no.
don't understand, Marilyn, though. Like, so if you're 5 years old and you're abandoned and you have no place to stay, doesn't
Yeah.
social services automatically step in?
Well, they released me to my adopted sister. Remember, I said my mother had adopted an older
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
um, and she was a user, a drug addict, and
Oh,
her
Lord.
boyfriend was a piece of shit. Don't want to talk about him,
Mhm.
but I don't know as far as custody goes. I mean, I lived so many different places. I don't think. I mean, how do you regulate that? Like, I can't imagine they kept having paperwork going back and forth to like legal.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
you were kinda lost in the system and moving
yeah,
around a lot, so you weren't necessarily on social workers' radar,
I don't
right?
think so. I think they probably signed me over to her, and then
Mhm.
I don't know if she had officially had custody of me because when I was actually adopted, when I was 9, we had to hunt down Herman, who I didn't know, never met. He was my legal father. He was on my birth certificate. So we had to hunt down this guy
Wow.
that was a TV repairman, this old
Mhm.
guy. I didn't know him. He's my quote father on my
Wow.
birth certificate. So I just remember going in and like, hi, he's working on a TV and this
Oh
kind
my
of
god.
dusty, yeah.
Talk
And it's like,
about awkward.
yeah, I'm like, can you sign my
Hey,
adoption papers? I mean, my adopted mother was with me, but it was like, I just remember him signing it and looking at me and saying, good luck
he
with
wouldn't
it.
even consider taking you in, he's your own fucking father.
Well, no, I didn't know him. He wasn't my father. He was my mother's husband. He wasn't Bob, the alcoholic
Herman
father.
was not your biological father?
No,
This was
Bob
your
was.
okay,
Bob was
I
there at
got
the
it.
fire that night. I had never met Herman. Herman
Okay,
was left. Remember, my mother I know it's so crazy, Doug. Like it's so that's why I don't like tell people because it's like I need to draw pictures and maps and family trees
Yes, you gotta
and
have
you
a
know what I
diagram.
mean?
I'm
It's like
following it though. I'm following it though.
I mean, if
So
anybody knows how to write a book, I don't know how to write a book, but I guess
there are people that can
uh,
help you out, by the way, with that. Mitch Brisker just finished a book, and you can get help to do that to help you. You don't have to, or you can throw it through Chat
chat
GPT.
GPT.
Or I have a small fee, so just send it over to me. I'll write it
Okay.
for you. I don't know how to write either.
I can crochet some stuff.
Exactly. Oh, gonna smoke a cigarette and drive the
Yeah.
husband nuts. Look at the rebel in
He said
Maryland.
I could.
God, I
He
like it.
well,
Okay.
I told you he got to go on a nice trip. He just got back and he knows that this is rough. So he's like, yeah, just like I
That's
opened the
awesome.
window behind me. So he said I
You
could.
got a good hubby, man.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good one. Um, I've been through a lot.
I bet.
So,
Are you able, by the way, to, talk this over with them, or do you keep it private?
oh no, he's very open. Like we talk about everything. He's actually been on my channel. I think my
Really?
viewers like him better. Yeah. He's like very smart. He's got
They
like the
like him better.
they do because he's very like smart and he's kind of man's man. Like he hikes mountains and chops wood, but he's very like he's got a professor look. He's got like the beard and
Oh,
the
nice.
bald head, and he's older than me. He's 12 years older, but yeah, he's just a good guy. Just really, really,
That's
he's a
awesome.
sweetheart. I got lucky. Yeah.
So after you show up with the trash bag at
Yeah.
this new place,
Mhm.
what's your first memory? Do you remember going in there? Do you remember meeting who was going to now take care of you? Do you remember seeing all the other kids? Was it noisy? Was it rambunctious? What was the vibe when you walked in that door?
Yeah, it was, so there were 2 little girls, 2 and 4-year-old, they're really, really cute, a boy my age, and then a bunch of older boys, and then an even older girl. So there were 10 of us altogether,
10.
uh, 10
In a
in the
big
house.
house or a small house? Two
Yeah, no, it was a
story?
pretty big house. It was a big, long, like, what do you call it? Like a ranch, but then there was, like, a little apartment over the garage, a two-car garage where most of the
Oh,
boys
cool.
stayed, but this was before, like, now when you're a foster kid, you can't share a room or all that with anybody that's not, like, your blood relative, but we
Really?
were all piled in it was just a lot so many of us,
It was
and
like
we
the
would
Sea Org before the Sea Org, you're all piled
right?
in beds and living communal living, basically.
Kind of, yeah, yeah, and I was used to I had been exposed to a lot. I had, I knew, like, a lot of stuff I shouldn't know, and, I knew a lot of, like, quote, "worldly stuff" that I find out later that's supposedly evil. So, I was I had grown up pretty fast, and
No
I was,
shit.
almost 9. I was 8 and a half, but, wasn't officially adopted until I was 9, but that was quick to be adopted. And, it was like a whirlwind, Doug, because all of a sudden you're thrown in with all these kids. You kind of feel like a number because you're having to conform. And there were some really fun things about it. Like my adopted dad was great. He was like the salt of the earth kind of guy. Take us camping, fishing. We go to amusement parks. Oh, Marlene's, yeah.
These guys are
Um,
trying to get us hammered,
I
Marilyn,
know,
and
really.
end this. And if you want us to end the stream, there's a gentle way to ask us, guys, rather than having us flop over on our computers. This gentleman was good. Then the man that you met, it's the wife that was going to lead you into the freaky shit, so to
Yeah,
speak.
she could be really nice. I have this really weird pattern in my life, I guess, is that these older women that have like two personalities. And I guess I always wanted to feel nurtured. I always wanted a mom, you know. And
Who the hell
sorry,
doesn't?
I'm gonna get emotional. I'm gonna
It's
get fucking
okay.
emotional
It's
about this,
okay.
but I always envied people that had a live mom because even if you don't see her, you know where you came from. You can point to her and say, "That's where I came from. I came from that uterus." So I never
Yeah.
had that. So it was really weird to not have that. And I always wanted to feel nurtured, right? And my mom had so many kids. She had a history of severe mental illness, so I don't know why she was given 7 foster kids. She had a total of 21 kids in her home. And I say her home because my dad went along with it and he loved us. I only ever really felt unconditional love from him, you
Mhm.
know? And, yeah, so it was wild because 'cause we'd pile in a van and go to church, and we'll talk about the church thing. But one thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm just telling you my story, I'm not giving you an opinion about adoption in general.
Mhm.
I think it's wonderful. There's so many kids that need to be adopted. There's so many puppies and kitties that need to be adopted, you know?
Yeah.
And adoption is wonderful, but, it doesn't mean that just because you're adopted that you need to be grateful and take abuse and just be like, well, you could be back out on the street. I heard that so many times. You could be back on couches. You could be back. And one time we almost were because someone broke something in the house and they believed in corporal punishment. They believed in hitting you. My mother mostly. Um,
Oh, wow.
but somebody broke a vacuum cleaner or something, and I know who fucking did it. And
Not you.
no,
Of course
I was
not. I'm
young.
just joking.
I'm just saying I didn't do it.
I
They were
believe you.
rough housing, and it was, yeah, and I won't say his name, but yeah, he did it, and he
Look,
was
I
one
know it was you, Marilyn. Just take
there were some
responsibility. I'm getting a bit of a dirty needle here.
you know what? I don't have any TRs. I have tears, not
Good.
TRs. I have
Good.
tears, not TRs.
Nobody needs TRs.
No.
Tears are much
Um,
better.
yeah, so it was like if if somebody doesn't confess, then you're all going back into foster care. We're going to get rid of you. We're already adopted. Not well, three of us were, and it was like a threat. Like you're out of here. And I was gonna confess because I didn't want to go back on the on the street. But our oldest one, and I'm going to say his name, Franny. He's changed his name, but his name was Fran. And he confessed, and I know he didn't do it. To this day,
Oh,
he's like, "I
really?
didn't
What
do
a
it."
stand-up guy.
Yeah, he did it so that we wouldn't so us younger kids wouldn't get sent away.
What a
He wanted the
stand-up
one that
guy.
did it get sent away because he was annoying. And there were a couple of older boys that were really messed up that I had to defend myself against them. And Fran really helped. If he was around, he would make sure they didn't do things to me. So
You were not messed with or any physically abused or anything,
it could have
Marilyn?
happened, but at that point, I had already gone through so much abuse that I was like, "You're not gonna fucking touch me,"
So
you
you would
know?
stand up for yourself already
Yeah.
at this
I was
point.
old enough. I was old enough to defend myself, yeah.
How old are we talking here?
I was probably 11 or 12,
That's
and so
still
I was
very,
older.
very young,
Yeah,
but you have a
yeah.
lot of life experience under your belt. By the way, Marilyn, I thought it was just funny that if your mom and dad, if they had been animals, they would have been considered fucking ordered 21 kids.
Right?
Funny,
Right?
Kimberly.
But, Doug, there were only 10 at a time.
Okay,
There were 21,
10.
yeah, only 10
Where
at a
did I
time.
get the 21 from? Did you say 21?
Yeah.
Not
There were some before me that went through the foster system and either
got
went
it.
back to their
Got it.
either aged out or went back to their own,
And 10 at one time. That's still a shitload of kids. I think that would still be considered a hoarder
yeah,
if those were animals.
yeah, yeah. And, keep in mind, I showed up on their doorstep really needing like I was a mess. So just to be
No shit.
nowadays they would be like, she needs therapy, she needs help, she doesn't need to be thrown in with 10 kids. Like a lot of times they would somebody who was a trauma victim and plus having all kinds of abuse from my wolf child years, I call them.
I like
I
that.
showed up on their doorstep. I was pulling out my hair. My adopted mom used to laugh at me about it. Now I
Laugh
know
at
that it's
you?
actually a medical condition
Yeah.
that people do that. It's
Yeah.
called
Trauma.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, and it comes
there's
from
a name
trauma.
for it. Somebody in the chat will know the name for it.
You know,
But,
Trinity, who I interviewed, Marilyn, I don't know if you remember Trinity, but she was
yes,
talking about that was
love
one of the
Trinity.
issues that they had, and the mother just totally ignored it, and that's a sign that your kid's having serious trauma, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And she laughed at it
and
and
I
simply didn't know that at the time, or she was kinda evil?
she would actually mock me about it, yeah.
Really?
She
Did
didn't know it was a
she
condition.
Okay, I don't know how you could miss that. I
No.
mean, obviously, I
And,
would think
this is embarrassing, but I wet the bed too.
that's what
It's another trauma response,
Yeah.
you know? So, I was a mess, and I don't remember in that church full of Christian people. I don't remember ever having anybody like sit me down, even Christian counseling, which exists. But back then it was like, God will cover everything. God will heal
Really?
everything, you know?
Yeah, I
So
understand that, but it's ridiculous.
yeah, but the church was crazy, crazy town.
All right, before we talk about the church, can I ask you how much the mom was indoctrinated into this and how much did she pass it on to the 10 kids? Was this something you were definitely going to be getting into, or are we talking about like a casual church on Sunday type thing? Do you want to
No,
lead us into that? No,
no.
not okay.
Her uncle had founded the church. It was an Assemblies of God, which is one of the mainstream Pentecostal denominations in the United States and the world. There's something like 3,000 churches, I think, only in the
Wow.
United States. There's literally millions of members. And
Really?
it's considered mainstream. In the 70s, the charismatic movement was really big with, the classic gibberish, speaking in tongues, the well, I won't say fake healing, the healings, the casting out demons, like really getting into music and the worship like frenzy type stuff, like Hillsong now, you know what Hillsong is? The Justin
Yes.
Bieber, yeah,
Yes.
it was like that, but
Yes.
but in the 70s, right? So
Okay.
it was
So not too bad then. Not you
not
looking
there
back, would
wasn't
you
one charismatic leader, it wasn't we weren't starved or anything, but
Mhm.
I'll tell you, it was really bad, Doug, because there was a huge dark side to it. There was that always that lingering thing, you're gonna go to hell, and you're
Mhm.
not, and I was at the age of accountability, because once you're around 9, if you die, you're going to hell if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your
It's
personal
so
savior into
crazy.
your heart and be baptized and sin no more. So, um I was always afraid that I was going to hell. And the rapture was another thing that was like, always be ready. Jesus
Yeah.
is going to come like a thief in the night. And there's the verses in the Bible that says, like, there will be two in a field, and one will be taken up to heaven, and one will stay behind. So I always thought I was going to be the one staying behind because I wasn't good enough. And they indoctrinated us big time because we were watching these movies that were called A Thief in the Night. It
Oh
was before the
god.
Left Behind series, where you like I was scared because I'd be in a grocery store and I would lose track of my mom. You heard that story probably with Kelly that I told
Yeah.
Kelly. I would be so scared and I laugh about it now, but it's like the movies that we saw were so scary. I remember like staying up awake at night and worrying like if I didn't if I missed the rapture and I didn't take the mark of the beast, because if you took the mark of the beast, definitely going to hell,
How
right?
did you take the mark of the beast, by the way, Marilyn? What did that mean?
Okay, so that what that would mean is in the Bible it says after the rapture, um, that no one will be able to buy or sell. This is during the tribulation in Revelations, right?
Mhm.
No one will be able to buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast, which means you're basically going to hell because you have 666 written on your forehead or on your wrist or on your hand, your right hand or your forehead. If you don't have that, you will be martyred. You will get your head chopped off, and it depicted it in the movies that we had to
Really?
watch,
And she was
9, 10
purposely
years old.
showing those to you to
Hearing
try
you straight.
to
Yes.
scaring
Yeah.
you straight. Yeah,
Yep.
as if that's ever worked on anybody.
I
I
know.
don't
And they
suppose you
would
could
say
use love, to
yeah,
do something
exactly. And
effective.
I told you about that, about the only way I got to listen to rock music was backwards because the backward masking and all the scary, you know,
Yes.
Hotel California.
Can I ask you, so she would how often would she play those backwards? What would she throw on Led Zeppelin and literally roll the
So,
record
my
backwards
mo
while you guys are
my
hanging
mother
out in the
wasn't
house?
really doing it. She would just send us to church and do it. She was always, like, more worried about, like she would let us, like I remember one time I roller skated down a mountain and split my leg open. I still have a pretty deep scar there. As long as you don't listen to rock music, you can basically it doesn't matter, like, you could take risks and hurt yourself. Like, she never worried about our physical body, like, didn't really, like, you know, encourage us to take care of our physical, like, reminded us to brush our teeth and just take care of yourself, right? Eat healthy, exercise, none of that. It was more, she was so worried about keeping up the appearance that she had a holy family.
Yeah,
And
I know
so
what you
she'd
mean.
bring us to church. We went sometimes 2 or 3 hour services 3 times a week. And I hated Sundays because we'd have to sit in the church service Sunday morning and then Sunday night. So burn our secular tapes. Yeah, we've done that. I burned my cult tapes too. So
I am looking at her, Peggy. I'm trying to
He
balance
is.
the
No, he
chat.
is.
I'm
Thank you,
totally
Peggy,
paying
but
attention to her.
he's
I can
looking at
multitask.
your chat too, so it's okay.
Also, if I wanna look, I can see Marilyn like the way I'm looking now, but if I look into the camera, I can't see my computer screen because it's down here. So I know
Right.
it looks like I'm not actually looking at her, but I am. Peggy,
No,
to ethics. Unacceptable.
it's okay.
Yeah.
If that's the most feisty thing anybody said, it's
I
all good.
know. It's a
You
really
guys
it's
are
pretty
awesome.
chill. I've
I
been
know,
keeping my eye out,
I
by
keep
the way,
wanting to say
for
hi to everybody. I love you
I
guys. Thank
know,
you.
I know.
Thank you for
You can
being
say hi
here.
to anybody that you see over here in the
Uh,
chat. Marilyn,
Tampa
are
B
you
Man,
able to s
Barb, I mean, everybody, Joni Cummings, people I don't know.
Philosophy,
Philosophy, I love that. I love
Tampa
how you
B
spell
Man
it.
and the hizzy. Kelly Copter is asleep, so it's okay that she's not here. Joni, how
She
you
texted
doing?
me a couple hours ago and said she's gonna
Unacceptable. Unacceptable, Marilyn. She
it's
knew
like
you were
4
on
or 5
tonight.
in the morning. It's 5 in the morning there.
Unacceptable. Witness, how you doing?
She's doing the werewolf game again, guys,
I
tomorrow.
know. Oh, I'm
You're
glad you
doing
said
it,
that.
right?
Damn
Okay.
right. Are you gonna be in it or did you skip
I
out?
I gave my spot to PTS Jeff because I wanna be in
Okay.
Stre I'm gonna be in StreamYard. My job is when people die, I'm gonna
Oh,
drag them to the bottom of the screen because it got confusing last time
it did,
because
but
we didn't
she
know who was dead or alive, and Kelly didn't know I can't believe I know stuff about StreamYard, but I just been fooling around in it. You can drag people to the bottom, so I'm gonna be the dead body dragger and,
nice.
just help her in the chat. She's got some little effects I think she's gonna have me do, so it'll be
Oh,
fun.
cool.
And, I was, like, freaking out, like, I told you no TRs, right? So I was like, I wanna just watch. I just wanna watch.
I didn't know
Thank
what the
you,
hell we were
everybody.
getting
Martha
into. I
Martha
could
Bay, I
Martha.
don't know a lot of these people, but Escaping the Cultiverse. Gabrielle, I'm doing a stream with her next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
And welcome
yeah,
back, Gabrielle, because I've noticed
yeah.
you've
She's
returned and
great.
you've done some interviews. Why am okay, there she is. Hey, Gabrielle.
Yeah. Hello, hello. Man, it must be late where you're in this I think she's in the same
She's in
time zone.
Canada, isn't she? Isn't
She's
she
in the
in
same time zone as me though, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, so you're playing tomorrow? Sweet.
Oh,
She's playing
nice.
werewolves.
Gabrielle, I'm already calling you out as one of the werewolves. I know it's you and Apostate Alex. Those are the two I'm gonna be eyeing tomorrow. If
Poor
you
Alex.
I know. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, we're playing a game called Werewolves Part 2, Electric Boogaloo,
Yep.
which is what Kelly titled it, which is hilarious. And that'll be on her channel tomorrow. And I'll leave a link in the description box after this video publishes. Please join us. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And also
Yeah.
it's been really nice, Marilyn, not to talk about trauma all the time and just to hang out and have
Yeah,
fun.
totally. Because I mean, so many friends and, I feel like you guys are a part of my life,
Yeah.
parasocial, but still,
Yeah, yeah,
still, you
definitely.
know? Yeah.
How about we take it up
So
to we've already been going over for over an hour. What do you would
mhm.
you mind doing like another half hour?
Sure.
We'll because this is perfect. We'll bring it up. We haven't even started the story when you even get into the cult yet, guys. I
Right.
think we got the most sad part out. Did we,
Yeah.
Marilyn? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, I have a picture of the faith healer if you wanna pull that up with, the
yeah,
church
good
that
call.
and
Good
I
call.
actually took a picture of the church yesterday, and it still looks the same as it did 40 years ago, which is wild.
The same. I thought that. So this is
It
the church that
This
you
is the
were.
one I grew up in. It's about 20 minutes away from me.
Mhm.
I haven't been down that street in decades. And, looks the same as it did 40 years ago, yeah. And then there's, like, a parking lot that's all, kind of yeah, it's sectioned off. I couldn't even drive in there. So I was, circling the I had to go actually back that far in order to take a picture of the whole back of the building
So
because it's so
this is
long.
the front right here that we just saw right here.
But
The
that's the
steeple.
front.
That's
That's
this
the
right here.
sanctuary. Yeah, that's where people would gather.
It looks
And then
so beautiful and inviting and simultaneously a little bit creepy, if you don't mind me saying, Marilyn.
isn't
I mean,
it?
there's something so beautiful and ominous about that. Does it bring back memories? This is the church that you were in when you were well, you'll tell us about it in a second, but this
Yeah.
is what your mom was into and
Yes.
bringing you down on more than just church on Sunday.
Yeah, and the whole back, the parking lot part, yeah, that whole back, those were all classrooms, and then
Oh,
underneath
wow.
where those little rooms are or the little windows are, that was like they called it a fellowship hall, which was like a basement, and it was like a big banquet room, and,
Okay.
we had some fun times, we had, youth group and, we had Sunday school, which is could be boring, but I just
Yeah.
remember sitting in long, long sermons, the crazy, we'd have these visiting preachers that would work people up into a frenzy. It was scary. It was scary sometimes because you had people frothing at the mouth, getting
Really?
demons cast out of them. The whole thing about like they couldn't even have a funeral without having or even a wedding without having like an altar call and trying to make people feel guilty that they're going to hell if they don't accept Jesus Christ as their personal savior. Um, and I never really understood that because you would like
Even
have
then, even with all the indoctrination, you never fully bought into Jesus saves, and you
I
weren't
believed
s
it because that's what I was taught, but I never felt like it was real to me because I always felt like, I hadn't gotten it yet. Like, I'd fake speaking in tongues because
really, you'd fake
well,
it.
because yeah, because if you didn't, you were bad. So, um, they'd say, "If you didn't speak in tongues, then the Holy Spirit wasn't in your heart because that was an outward manifestation," right?
How would you know that that wouldn't be demons? You would think that speaking in tongues might be you're demonically possessed, so how would they separate the 2? And why does speaking in tongues mean that you're connected to God, if you don't mind me asking?
That is a really good question. A really good question. Um, there's a substitute. There's a Christian substitute or a demonic substitute for every. I'll say a demonic, satanic substitute for everything that is good and pure and Christian, right? So
I
you have
see.
the Holy Spirit, which is part of God, the Trinity. God, the Son, the Holy Spirit is one, right?
Mhm.
And if you think of it, they always described it as like H2O. It's like or like water, right? You have like water is could be a solid, a liquid, and a gas, right? So like solid is Jesus was you could touch him and he was real, right? Then the the like no, it was just I don't know, it makes sense to me. Like the solid like ice, and then the water would be like the Father, and then the Holy Spirit would be like the gas spirit, right? So that's how they
Yeah, makes
always
sense.
described it. And then the demon thing was like there was they called it principalities and powers, mights and dominions and dark places. So you always had to worry
Mhm.
about demons lying to you, always had to worry about demons tempting you, the devil tempting you. But there's a like a Christian equivalent to it. So the Holy Spirit would baptize you and you'd be speaking in tongues. Um, it's a that could be another whole stream of, where
I get the
Pentecost
gist of what
came
you're
from,
saying.
all that, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
they took basically one little excerpt of the Bible and made this into this. Now, in the Bible, it was the speaking in tongues was actually literal tongues. It was literal languages that people could understand, and, the charismatic people just kinda turned it into gibberish. So you open your mouth and you're just like, like, I'm just getting the chills even doing it right now. Um, but, Nora oh, no, Nora does a great speaking in tongues. She's just like, "Be healed
Really?
in the name of Hashan da 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 da
Oh,
da."
I have seen
It's
that.
fucking
It's
awesome. Yeah,
so funny,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Were you freaking out as a kid, or did you just,
Yes,
were you like, "Everybody's crazy, so I better start just faking it?"
yeah,
Like,
and,
it sounds like a madhouse, Marilyn, as
yeah,
a
they would
child.
line you up. They would have you come to the front of the altar and have this, like, all this music and working into frenzy. Everybody would be dancing around, raising their hands, and they'd have you line up, and, I have a picture of it. I remember this woman, she she rode up in a tour bus. Her name was Grace of Grace and Vessels. Her name is Grace James. She's in her 70s and still say same message, still going 40 years later. I just looked her
Wow.
up her Facebook page. So she pulled up with her ministry. She would sing a little, give a little message, and then she would have people line up. There she is. And if you
There she
I
is.
don't know if you can blow it up at all, but she's pointing.
See if I can blow it
I
up.
remember her pointing at me. I mean, this is just
Looks
from her
like a
Facebook
gun
page.
that she's got. I mean, not in her hand. It looks like she's pointing at you like a gunshot.
Yeah,
It's hard to
probably,
see.
yeah, she's pointing,
Mm.
and, she'd be like, "Spirit told me that, you are going to be ever, like, you're gonna be a prophetess, or you're gonna be a singer, you're gonna be a preacher." So, it was always something like that, you know? "You're going to have the gift of, healing," or "God told me that you have a headache," or "You have a" whatever, you know? Like, who doesn't fucking have a headache, you know?
She's a she's a fake healer, would you say?
She's
Well,
well, she had some people that she was healing that I didn't recognize, and it was a small town, so maybe she, staged it, but th this one of the scary things was that you would line up at the altar, and she'd go around and kinda just gently push on your forehead, and if you're lucky, there was an usher to catch you behind you,
if
because
you were
some
lucky?
people s uh, I was lucky, but my friend wasn't, and there were some concussions that happened, let's just say that.
Wow. So sometimes there would actually not be people behind him to catch him?
Yeah, there was no usher to catch him, so yeah,
Oh
and I
my
remember
goodness.
somebody, like, thrashing on the ground and, like, frothing at the mouth. Oh, yeah, so this is her Facebook, page. This is
September
from September
15th.
15th, which is just what? A month ago?
Yep.
And, guess what? Her message
She's
is still
still
the
at it?
same. Her message is still the same. He's coming
Any
soon.
day, Marilyn. Any day now, right?
Stay ready, Doug,
The
because he's
oldest
coming.
trick in the book, right? As soon as the date doesn't arrive, the cult leader just moves it back.
40,
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
40 years later.
Wow. I wonder if she has any original members, Marilyn, that are still hanging on 40 years later, as the
I
prophecy
don't know.
hasn't arrived yet.
I don't know. I mean, she was like a traveling,
Oh,
snake
really?
oil salesman, so she wasn't the minister. Our minister, he was a good guy, he was an Italian guy. His name was, Anthony Testacea,
Fucking
and,
A.
yeah, Anthony, oh, Anthony
Wait, hey,
Testacea.
fucking
Yeah,
A, man.
he passed away kind of young because he had, type 1 diabetes. When I met him, he was blind, um, completely blind. But yeah, he was a good guy. He's just, family man. He tried, but this is probably where you might want to leave off as far as
Sure.
I
Perfect.
well, yeah,
Did,
I mean, I can go into my teenage years. I ended up running away when I was 16. And because I wanted to go to prom, I told you about that. So I just wasn't really buying all the stuff anymore. It wasn't working for me. I wanted to fit in. I was in high school. I was going into my senior year. Wasn't allowed to hang out with any of my friends or listen to rock music. Nothing. So I just wanted to. I wanted to like be in plays. I like to sing and act and stuff a little bit. Nothing like you, but I just wanted to fit in
I,
and have
I
fun.
can't sing.
And
Yeah.
so I ran away, ended up in foster care again. I ended up in a couple weeks in one of those holding tanks for troubled teens. I mean, I wasn't really doing anything like I wasn't breaking laws, but I wanted to go to
You
prom.
wanted to have fun and
Yeah,
be a
I wanted to
normal
be
person.
a kid.
They wouldn't
Right.
let you go do that, at this Pentecostal house? Why was that
No.
that was part of their religion that was frowned upon,
Because
so you weren't allowed to be a
Because
normal.
you were supposed to be in the world, but not of it. And
I've
that's it sounds a little bit like Jehovah's Witnesses, like, those worldly people, those were worldly people. But you had to sit in public school for 7 hours a day and make friends and not be able to hang out with them. Aw, thank you, Destiny. You're so sweet. I love you guys. I feel like I'm ignoring the chat. See, usually, like, it
I
was
know,
just
but if I
me.
bring up the chat,
I
apparently I
know.
get in trouble from the
I'm just
people for not looking at you, Marilyn. So what is one to do? We are blessed to have
what's
her in
one
the
to
community.
do?
Yeah,
Well, Marlene Sweeney and Xenu,
exactly. Escaping just like the ideal orgs.
just like the ideal orgs. Yeah,
It's so crazy how, and whether it's a destructive cult or even something would you see on a lesser level with the
yeah,
Pentecostal and the
yeah,
Bible thumper, it's all about
yeah,
not having fun, not organically having the natural urges that you have, whether it's
totally.
sexual, wanting to go to the prom, just basic shit. And that represses
Yep,
the crap out of people
yeah.
and
The
actually
purity
damages them,
culture.
doesn't bring them
Mhm.
closer to God or their true self.
No. No, and it really primed me for later on joining a cult because I was so afraid of going to
Exactly.
hell, and I always felt like there was some purpose to my life, and this whole thing of, like, not being able to enjoy your life, not being able to live in the
Exactly.
moment. It's all the
Exactly.
be ready, you know? Um,
You just
there's
said it,
a
Marilyn. You can never live in the moment and just be
no,
yourself. You always have you're reminding me of growing up. I was always terrorized. My dad can read my mind. Something bad's going to happen. And I was
yeah.
always envious of other kids that didn't have that terror. And it's
Yeah, I was
like,
afraid of everything. Yeah,
me
just
too.
always
Me,
having that
everything.
foreboding. Yeah, it's no way to live.
Foreboding. Exactly.
Yeah, it's no way to live, and this whole thing of, like, "Oh, you're just a Thetan," or "You're like, this mo life means nothing."
Yeah.
That's why people unalive themselves. That's why you have suicide cults, or I don't know if I can say that, but, that's
You can
why
say whatever you want on here. I don't give a fuck.
they go to their death because what's this life? It's nothing, and you're being
Yeah.
conditioned. You're being conditioned to not care about your family, your physical being, your own life, this world is it's a prison planet for you. It was a fallen nature for me because Adam ate the apple that Eve took, and I'm not trying to pick on the Bible. I'm just saying you take everything literally, you
Hmm.
know, come on, you can't take it all literally. It was a beautiful book, lots of allegories.
Lots of
Um,
contradictions.
Lots of contradictions and lots of fucked up shit with, you don't, if your kid's rebellious, you don't throw stones at them and make them die, or if someone's, gay or trans or something, you don't kill them or say you're going to
Yeah.
be thrown in a lake of fire. It's just, that's
It's
not a loving
evil.
God.
It's
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think George Carlin says he loves you, but he
But
wants
he
to kill
needs
you.
money.
Yeah. Well, but he needs money. That too, of
Well, yeah.
course,
He's like,
right?
well,
He
it
needs,
was like, you're going to burn forever and ever and ever and ever, but he loves
but he
you and
loves
he
you.
needs money.
Exactly. Carlin had a great way of taking the piss out of religion and every other subject that's
Everything.
controversial.
Yeah, I loved it. It just made so much sense. Yeah.
So we bring that's actually a perfect place to end then. So you're around and then we'll take questions or whatever and hang
Yeah,
out with you guys because I mean
yeah.
that was kind of intense. It's actually nice. Thanks you for sharing. It's nice to get through part one, you know. You did it, Marilyn, because
Thank you.
it only
You
can I
make
ask
you
you
make it I mean, I won't say easy, it never could be easy, but, yeah, if I had to tell all this to you, I'm glad it was you.
oh thanks, Marilyn. And we'll because I want to do your story justice and just go as slow as you want. And we haven't even gotten into I'd say we're about a third of the way through. But, can I ask you one question? So,
Absolutely.
you said it primed you for going into a cult, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it can you explain that a little bit more? I was just curious. What was like can
Ugh,
you what what do you mean
yeah.
by that?
Because there were so many aspects of it. There was what I would call legalism, the laws, the rules, and all of the having to conform.
Mhm.
The seeds of self doubt were sown so early, right? Of that's your sin nature. That's you being tempted. You are set apart. You're a chosen person, and also the appeal of the Pentecostal strain of Christianity is very into, and I could bring up Jim Jones for example,
Mhm.
very into the spiritual, supernatural, mystical end of it, not unlike some of the occultic, like we
Just gonna say
said,
that sounds
the co
familiar.
yeah, it was like a different name, same thing, right? So it was, you're chosen, you're anointed, you're special, you have a red phone to God, right? And it's almost like you're a Christian psychic. So I never felt like I had that, but I knew that I needed some type of connection to God in order, number one, to not go to hell. And when you've got someone telling a fire victim that you're going to burn forever and ever and ever, and I'm laying
Wow.
awake at night. Sorry, I'm
Wow.
getting emotional.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even think of
We're,
that.
thinking about what it would feel like
I
forever and ever and ever.
and it was completely lost on your mom and your dad of the trauma that that alone would bring to you. There was
No,
no
no.
recognition of who
Yeah, and honestly, even to this day, my adoptive family don't understand. I was like, I'm not bitter. I love them. I never mention their name. I really, and if you saw my interview with Kelly, I never
yeah.
I never said anything bad about my parents, my mother especially.
You don't hold anything against them, Marilyn? Do you honestly feel like they were decent people as far as they could
I
be?
think they meant well. My mom was she's ill, she still is.
Sorry.
I don't think she ever meant to hurt me, but just because I forgive her doesn't mean, it doesn't hurt, doesn't mean have to trust her or have her in my life necessarily. Doesn't mean I have to subject myself to those things or excuse it or be like, "Thanks for adopting me." Yeah, thanks for adopting me, but no thanks for some of the shit I went through. Sorry. Um, yeah, and one of the things I wanted to bring up, and I actually wrote a note because I thought it was so important, is when I was actually adopted. So my birth name was Marilyn Rose Briggs. Briggs was never my any of my family because that was my mother's husband, the guy who signed me away that I didn't know. That was his last name, and my real father's name I never had. So when I was adopted, they changed my name to Miller, and my middle name they changed, and my middle name was Rose. That was my mom's name, and that
Really?
always bothered me. They asked me if they could change my middle name to Ann, which was everybody's. And I'm doxing myself. You can look me up. You know what? I am a open book, guys. So whatever, you know. But I that always bothered me because taking somebody's name away, and they asked me if they could change my first name. I said no. I want my first name because I was 9. I'm gonna change all my names, at 9 years old. They took my mother's name away.
Wow.
And they asked me and I said yes because I wanted to because all the other girls in the family had a middle name Anne. So I agreed to it. And I was part of me was a little bit mad at my mom for dying. Wasn't that silly?
No, it's
So
not. I
but
understand.
I wish I had kept my middle name, and then when I had my baby girl, who's 25 now, her middle name is Rose.
Good for you. It came full circle.
Yes, yeah. So
That's
that's
beautiful, man.
people could talk about that, like, whether you think it's right to change someone's name, especially when they're 9 years old, But, yeah, that was just something I did write down, and I wanted to bring that up because it is, part of my story that was important to me, you know?
Marilyn, I must be dumb. Pardon me. I'm blonde. Why did they want to change your name? Does this have to do with their religion at all? What was the
No,
why
no,
did they want to even change
um
it at 9?
because I think as they, well, they said they wanted me to feel like I belonged, to have their last name,
I
and
see. I see.
all the girls in the family had the middle name Anne, and even when I had my daughter, they kind of little bit pressured me to give her the middle name Anne. I said, "No, it's gonna be Rose." And I started to rise up and say no, but it took me many years to do that. So that's the obvious answer. There's another answer that I think, um, is that there's like a possession aspect about children, you know, um, good and bad. You want to take ownership as far as like responsibility for your children, but you don't want them to be things. And that reads into that whole thing about the quiverful. You've
Yeah.
heard of that with the Duggars.
Yeah.
Just collect all these children because
It's so creepy, by the way, those
yeah,
people.
yeah, because it's a quiver full, right? It's an arrow in your quiver. It's a feather in your cap. It's a crown in your
It's just an object.
or
Kids are just
it's a jewel in your
objects.
crown, right? It's a thing, right? So, yeah. Um, Yeah, I think they're looked on as possessions, and that's why I asked you the other night about Scientologists if they ever really are big on charity. I know they're not big on charity, but collecting, foster kids and make them look good in the Christian circles. I'm not saying they had pure motives in some ways, but also it does make you look like a good Christian person.
Totally understand. I guess I don't Scientology has a version of everything about looking good. It's all about the outer persona. In fact, there's a degree of that I can relate to in what you just said about my family. I was kind of a possession, and it's that we have to put on the perfect family. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's
Yeah.
not yeah, it's so bizarre. It's like these are your own flesh and blood and you're treating them like a freaking object. I never understood
Yeah,
my parents or parents
yeah,
that do that in general.
I
Oh,
know.
quiverful. Yes.
Quiverful. Yeah.
Someone wanted to know, Marilyn, did they do blanket training
In my cult, yes. I actually have the book right here
in your cult?
in the cult. This we'll get into that next time. This is the
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
Um, that was in the Shiny Happy People. They've since changed the cover. This is the original cover. I did a little review on it. If you go on my channel, on the first page is like actual videos, and there's one that says I can't remember. It's like the Monsters of Discipline, and I go through this book and do a little review on it.
I've
I
seen it.
personally didn't end up doing the blanket training because I fought against it. I was so happy to have children. I loved my children. I did do some corporal punishment, which I regret now, but I couldn't do it, and that's why I was always getting in trouble
That's what
because
I was
like
going to ask you to end off. This rebellious spirit, that's part of also what probably led you to the cult, rebelling against your family. Did you get discipline? Were you standing out with the other 10 children? Were you all, how did your rebellious nature play into how difficult your life was or wasn't when you were with this family before we get into the cult the next time?
yeah, that's a good question. I didn't really conform. I was always sneaking around, sneaking
Good for you.
cigarettes, sneaking a drink or whatever,
You seem
teenage
so
stuff.
nice too, Marilyn. I can't actually picture you as the rebel type, but I know you are. You look so innocent. So the innocence must
I'm
have played
not,
into your
I'm
rebelling.
not.
I know you're not,
Just because I like to crochet, I don't know what the hell that is, like,
but you
I
just
said
don't look like a rebel, and yet you are. I know you are. And that
well, you
did
know
that
my
get you into a lot
story,
of
I mean,
trouble?
I wouldn't have been able to survive, I guess, if I wasn't a little bit
No, you wouldn't have. You would have just gone under, and you'd probably be a preacher nowadays. It's, I think. Do you think that that was a
I'd have a flower in my hair.
Yeah, you'd be doing what that gal was that we showed earlier. You'd be her. Do you think it was that rebellious nature that caused you to ultimately be able to, literally survive and get out of all these situations? Do you think that was the key? Because I know that was for me.
Yeah, I think that, my, as Stephen Hawes would say, your authentic self was,
Right.
it was stuffed down for so long, but it was there, and it was just this
Yes.
little fire in me that Marlene Sweeney, I like to say her name any chance I get,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Let me throw it up.
she
We should
couldn't
add, yeah.
she couldn't snuff it out.
Since you put that up there too, we'll have to add this guy in here for the final
Yeah.
party game
And
here.
speaking of, this guy, yeah, I was called, corny many times, and I really am. I like to have fun.
So am I
I like
though.
to
Nothing wrong
yeah,
with that.
I like to say goofy things. I am corny. I'm so corny, I don't have to talk to a corn, just saying. Um, but yeah, like, I am exuberant, but I I don't know, it's like I feel things, and
Me too.
if I'm if I'm happy, you know it. If I'm mad, you know it. If I'm sad, you know it. So that's just how I am. I'm always just like, I put it out there, right? So,
Good for
hey,
you. Good for
Cricket,
you.
I love you, Cricket. I love you.
And she
I
can
watched every
sing
minute of that stream you did the other night. I learned so much. I had so much fun. What was it, 3 hours? I didn't want it
3
to end.
hours and 15 minutes. Cricket has one hell of a voice too. That was a great
Oh
conversation.
my god, yeah, gorgeous voice, yeah. I can't believe that she's not professional.
I know. She missed
Tomato,
her calling.
the
As
tomato.
that's a perfect place to end. Guys, thank you so
Yeah,
much for joining us, but we're going to hang out and just, with you guys and roll through some comments. Anything that
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
ask, please throw
absolutely.
some question marks up there.
Yep.
And
I'm gonna light up a smoke.
perfect. I think we covered this guy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and
we're done. Yeah.
excellent. So, oh, this I'm just gonna pull up random shit. Nasty, how you doing? Do you know who Nasty Nathaniel is?
I do know he does the audits, the
Yeah, and
First
not to be
Amendment.
confused with the Scientology audits. He
No,
does
First
First
Amendment,
Amendment
like,
audits.
he's basically, "I have a right to be here." No, I love Nasty Nate. He probably has no idea who I am, but yeah, he's great.
I bet you he
I
does.
know.
It's good to see you, man. And thanks, seriously, Nate. Thanks for all your work, man. I told you before in one of the streams, I've been watching your videos while I was deprogramming and had absolutely no courage to do what you were doing at the time. So thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate.
All right, what do
We
we
love you.
got here?
There's people still awake. This is awesome.
I know.
This is
I
my
was
favorite part is talking to people in the chat. I love it. I
Me
really love
too,
it.
but I was so busy literally watching you, even though I got accused of not doing so, that I actually wasn't able to freaking star too much. So if you guys have them now, so I don't have to backtrack, please, any questions or comments that you want thrown
Oh,
up so we
Steve
can
was
hang out for
telling
a
on me.
bit.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Duncan, are you okay with 2 smokes tonight?" Because I said I would have 1 smoke.
You
He's
and I have
fine.
both been chain smoking tonight, but we deserve it. It's heavy material you're covering. This is what you said at the beginning, Marilyn, just to
Someone asked me if I was from United Pentecostal, but it's Assemblies of God, which is a little bit bigger than United Pentecostal.
I personally get so mixed up when it comes to all these various Christian denominations.
Yeah.
How do you even
Uh,
begin? Like that
well,
Assemblies of God, that means nothing.
Mark
Ah,
Torrey could tell
yes,
you
he
a lot of
can.
it because you've done it, but I can tell you about the Pentecostal, but we can do all kinds of streams, like anything. I do
You
know a
could
lot of, scripture. I know a lot of that stuff if you're because I know that, like Aaron will say sometimes, like, "I don't know anything about the Christian," like, he doesn't understand it. It really helped
yeah.
me to learn about Scientology because, like, mainstream Christianity is not a cult in my eyes, but it can be culty, especially when you're talking about anointings and, Pentecostal, I think, is culty. Sorry, guys, if you don't think so,
Oh,
that's
I
totally
I
fine.
think most people would agree with you.
The Pentecostal, yeah, is it's not a full-blown cult, but you'll find I was in a full-blown cult, like a scary, starving,
Uh,
controlling, isolated yeah.
for
Not trying to
16
put it
years too, right, Marilyn? I mean, that was a
16 years.
huge part of your life.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
happy you got out, by the way. You
Me
know,
too.
16 years, you could have been in there for life. And
I was
again, it was
in for
that
16 years, and I've been out for 16 years, so,
perfect. Can I
yeah.
ask you, being out, I've been out about the same time. I got out in 2008. When did you get out?
2007, yeah.
Okay. So here we are 16 years later, both of us. How do you feel about how much you've changed? How much
Yeah,
of the programming? Do you
yeah.
feel healed? Or is it, where are you at
I
16
think
years later?
I think it's a process, I mean, I don't wanna, like, say, "Oh, it's gonna be the rest of my life," because I feel so, free, I feel so free, but still there's
Yeah.
things that come up. There's things that trigger me. There's things that, I realize, 'cause I could still fall into a pattern. So, and I think that the human spirit, the human mind it's amazing. Isn't the human brain and everything, like all of the systems in your body and everything. I don't know where it came from,
Me neither. It's
but
amazing,
it's just
though.
absolutely amazing
It's
how
amazing.
we can process trauma in little bits, and there's something within me that's just like kind of protecting me. Like, okay, we're going to deal with this now. Okay. And there's a situation that came up recently. Don't want to get into it that kind of triggered me. And
Hmm.
I was thinking about things like my trauma responses, about patterns of relationships I've had, about things that I've allowed, and things that I've maybe looked for in my life that I don't necessarily need, but like that mother thing, never really felt like I had a mother. So I tend to look up to older women as if they're somehow better than me, which I do respect older people and don't get me wrong. But I think that I've maybe found it within myself, I can mother myself, right? And
Yeah.
I mother my children to death.
Yeah. And you have great kids. And if it's any consolation, Marilyn, it's definitely different. So don't take this the wrong way. But I haven't had a mother in my life forever up until recently. And even then, here we are 15 years later talking. So I do know
Yeah.
what it's like. I feel
Yeah,
like
no,
an
I understand.
alien to this world. And every time there's holidays and I see
Yeah,
people doing that stuff, I'm so used to not having any of that for so many years. Christmas, Halloween, it all passes by. Well, not tomorrow because not Halloween because we're going to do werewolves,
yes.
Electric
Yeah.
Boogaloo part two.
Yep.
But I do know what it's like, and it
Yeah.
sucks, man. But at the same time, it's made me an individual and totally independent because I've always felt ostracized just from the family upbringing. So it's very
Yeah.
strange. It's like I do wonder what it would have been like if I had a normal upbringing. But at the same time, since I don't know what that's like, and I desperately tried to get it, and it didn't happen, It's weird. There's always a, um, as they would say, not to re-stimulate you, but what is it, in this world, but not of this world?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
constantly not dissociated, but in a
Mhm.
way looking from the outside in, watching everybody. I'm not really a part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand what you're
And
saying.
that's from not having a family that I could fucking talk to
Yeah.
and watching everybody
Yeah, to
else have
have the
fun.
roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I've been able to find that in other ways that aren't so traditional,
Me
even
too.
in this community. You find people
Absolutely.
that you trust and that you can talk to, and you get these connections, and it does suck. It's like, yeah, my mom physically passed away, but it in some ways, it seems even more hurtful to have somebody that is there but not, like your mom
She did
because
the
of
best
this
she could.
indoctrination. Right,
Yeah,
right,
I
yeah.
don't hold it against her at all. I
Right, but at
love
the
my
same
parents.
time, this fucking religion well, it's not even a religion, this cult, convinced her that she had to disconnect from you, and it's just so evil, and that's why we're all here, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Because we wanted to stop all the abuse, and it's just amazing to me that, like, it is we talked about this the other day about things being so similar, some ways different because Scientology is so screwed up, but there are thousands of micro cults, and that's why I scream Marlene's name all the time because, like, "You're not gonna get away with this, woman.
Good for
You think
you.
you're gonna hide in Vermont 5 miles away. No, there's thousands well, hundreds maybe, of people that know your name now, and there's thousands like you, you know?
And we are going to expose you, Marlene, and,
Marlene Queenie.
get trashed in your name on the next stream as well. So, do you
Absolutely.
do you think there's any chance? I mean, she lives right down the we're talking about her cult leader, which we're gonna get into part 2, my friends. Do you think that she, watches? I mean, she lives right down the street from your house, does she not?
I don't know, I haven't gotten any, feedback about that. I've had some people, one just lovely, he's a man now. He was a boy, when he was in the cult with me, but he was raised, partially raised in the cult. He, came out as gay to his mom, and she's still there. She still cleans their house and stuff, and she's still in the cult. He was ostracized, told he was going to hell, that he was, debased, and, that he was perverted and all this, and he he reached out to me just a few weeks ago, and he found my channel, and, he's like,
No
"Thank
shit.
you." He's like, "Thank you for confirming what I've known for years, that this woman is a psycho,"
That is
So
awesome. So you kinda got somebody out of the cult, would you say, or at least
well,
are
he had
helping him
left.
heal?
He had left, but he was like,
But he didn't
it's so
know
hard when you feel
necessarily.
isolated.
Yeah,
It kinda gave him because, when you go through these things, sometimes you don't even have the language, you don't even know what happened to you, you know?
exactly.
I didn't know what a cult was, I just thought it was and really watching the aftermath helped me understand
That
so
is
many layers
amazing,
of
by the
it.
way. Could
Yeah,
you
I don't think
explain that a little bit? Because I thought that was interesting because you know what did it for me, Marilyn, as I read a book by Steve Hassan called
yes.
Combating Cult Mind Control, and as you know, he talks
Yeah,
about the moon cult, the Moonies,
yeah,
and he wasn't
yeah.
mentioning Scientology, yet everything he was saying was what Hubbard was doing. So
Totally.
you had the
Yeah,
same revelation about your cult, which you think would be so dissimilar. This proves that they all come from the same playbook and they
yeah.
use the same tools. So, could you
So
talk a
many
little bit
layers.
about when you came
Yeah.
across Leah's show and what the hell that was like? It must have been light bulb moments galore, right?
Yeah, and I knew Leo was really famous, but I never had watched King of Queens because I was fully in the cult in the '90s when she was on, right? But she's actually my age, we're both I'm almost 53 like her. And, I don't know, I just liked her. I just like she's my kinda girl. And, when I saw that I had seen the cover of I think it was People magazine. My mother-in-law had given me, a subscription, and I was like, "This is interesting. What is this Scientology stuff?" I had bought a copy of Dianetics when I was 18 and
No.
out of the house, and, I just got my own apartment. I'd been homeless, and I bought it because I just thought the commercial was cool, and I wanted
Mhm.
to do some self-help shit, but it didn't make any sense. I threw it away, whatever.
Good,
And
good.
so that's all I ever knew about that. But then, when this came up with the aftermath, I was like, I remember seeing her on People magazine. I'm like, I've got to know about this. This is interesting. So I started watching it. And from all of the stories and the narcissistic abuse that they went through with Dave Miscavige, how he had this shiny outer, like, oh, billions and billions and everything's great. And then all the sadistic shit that he would do, put people through, just all this arbitrary, like, gross things that he would just humiliate them. I went through that kind of stuff. And so that was one thing. Then so many parallels with even the doctrine or the dogma or whatever. The body thetans. Oh my God. Like, I went crazy too. The upper levels with like Mary Kahn talking about how they wouldn't even let her leave. It was like I would get, just we could do a whole stream on that, parallels of that.
Oh,
But I don't think that Leah and Mike realize how many people they've really helped that never even barely heard of Scientology, helped them realize that they had gone through what, like Roberta Blevins, who has Life After MLM. She talks about that in the documentary LuLaRich, that she was like just so burdened down by this fucking MLM/cult that she was like, I want to get my aftermath fix. So she went and watched Aftermath, and she was like, I don't know what episode it was or whatever, but she screamed the same thing I did. Holy shit, I'm in a cult, and I was like, I was in
really?
a cult. Yeah. So
You
it
didn't realize it before then? You didn't have read no books, you didn't have any kind of form of reference for all those years until Leah's show came out?
well, yeah, I was out for 10 years, and
Mhm.
I knew it was an abusive. I knew that I didn't want anything to do with it. I knew she was abusive. Still wasn't sure about like the, God and all that, but I kind of put it aside because I tried going to another church. That minister ended up, being outed in shame, like he had an affair, he was a hypocrite, whatever. So I was like, I'm done with organized religion. But I always thought of like cults as like Jim Jones, Heaven's Gate, Waco, all that, right? But I knew that she had some culty overtones. But then I always find it super bizarre when people in cults watch shows about other cults and criticize them, don't see it in their own lives, right? Yeah, because we did that, like, uh the Heaven's Gate thing happened when I think the month or a couple of months before we got married, and we were like, "Oh my god, that's crazy. They're in a
Yeah,
cult,"
that's obviously a cult.
And we
That
were in
was
a cult. We were
I
in a cult.
know. That's what I Marilyn, I mean, we had a science. We thought other religions were faith-based and you guys are farting around, but we
Oh,
have a
no,
science. There was
no,
no way
no.
we were in a cult. I knew it.
We had the truth.
I
We
know.
had the truth.
See, that's the thing. Everybody thinks that they have the truth, right?
Yeah,
It's
and you're
just what Nerdy
special.
Girl Film says.
I
The
don't
one
I love
thing
you.
I
I love
know,
Nerdy
she's
Girl films.
awesome. She's coming on Saturday, by the way, and we're
No
going to talk
way!
about her
Yes!
experience in the
Hell
Portland
yeah!
Org Celebrity Center. And she has some very interesting things to say.
She's awesome, and she's a natural. She's gotta
Yeah.
get her I know she has a channel, but
Yeah. And
we
Twitch
gotta
and
draw her
everything.
out. She's amazing.
We got to put us all on together too, man. I think it would be
Let's do
an
it.
awesome session just to hang out with. Well, you
Yeah.
and the ladies, me and the ladies, if you don't mind, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
The ladies.
Uh,
Michelle too, she's amazing
I
too.
know. I haven't seen her. I think she's probably hitting the sack or whatever. Michelle, come back
Oh, she's
if
probably
you're.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame her.
Um. Yeah, but you know what I hear the most, Marilyn, and this is no offense to Christians, please, it's not. Um.
Hit
But
me.
the thing that I've heard, would you consider yourself Christian, by the way, before I ask, or did you?
I think
That's
I'm
a whole nother.
agnostic. I think we both established we're agnostic, right? Because it's like, I mean, now I can bring back a few things. Like I just threw the baby out with the bath water. Now it's like I can hear
Yeah.
scripture here
Yeah.
and there and be like, count your blessings, or oh, that's not really in the scriptures, but things like God is love. I like that. I'll keep it. You know,
That's good though. I
but
liked what you said. I was
I'm not a
talking with
practicing Christian.
you're not a practicing Christian, but
No, I don't go to church. I maybe believe in God. I think. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I just didn't want to say anything offensive to you if you still held on to some of that or whatever, or to any Christian. But the thing that I've heard the most, Marilyn, is exactly what Nerdy Girl Film says. They are watching me, some person talking about all this gibberish and Jesus, and they're going, Jesus, thank God that's not me or whatever, not realizing that they then call me up or email me or whatever and say, good job on getting out of Scientology. Now, when are you going to find Jesus? And it's totally lost
Right.
on them
Yeah.
that they
See,
might have something to
yeah,
evaluate
that's
themselves.
gonna.
Does that rub you
Yeah.
the wrong way too, like
Oh,
me, man?
hell
I
yeah.
mean,
And Doug, It pisses me off, it really does, but I can kinda understand it too because they think that, Jesus said, "Go ye into all the world, preach the gospel to every
Exactly,
living
they have to.
creature."
They have
You
to.
are compelled to.
Me
If you
too as a
don't,
Scientologist too.
you have to stand before God at the pearly gates and be
Yeah.
judged for every thought, every action, every omission, everything you didn't do, you know? So if somebody is burning in hell because you didn't preach the gospel, it's your fault. So you have this compelling, yeah.
Isn't that crazy though? Compelled, and just like I felt compelled to get people into Scientology because if they don't get rid of
Yeah.
their reactive minds, we're all
Why can't
screwed.
why can't people just be happy and live? It's like
I
this whole
know.
pie in the
I
sky
know.
stuff. You're missing out on life, you know?
Religion sucks,
Does.
Marilyn. It does, man. It's like it not necessarily a spiritual connection or God or whatever people make of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
I'm
about this
sorry. I can't look at the
indoctrination.
chat. They're cracking me up. Like
Who do
Cricket
you want me
says,
to pull up here? I can pull them up.
"Chow Yun Smut, she found Jesus."
Oh, Chow, we had somebody find Jesus in the chat.
Yes.
Chow, would you like to come on? I can send you a link and you can make a testimony here on the live. I found him last week. Jesus, I knew it. I knew he was behind the couch. I'm gonna have to look there later tonight. Chow, you're so funny, man.
I
Yeah, but
know.
that's the thing, right, Marilyn? Without all
She
these
could come
rules and
on, but then we
regulations.
will be falling out of our chairs, just saying.
Yes. And I'm not sure. Yeah, Chow's gonna have to go a little easier on her liquor next time. I think she'd be
Oh,
tanked by now. No, I'm just kidding. We did a 3-hour thing, man. So I didn't even warn her to pace herself. And by the end of the stream, we were both zonked. That was such a fun live.
yeah, it was great. I love being in the chat. Your chat's so fun. Your people are really fun.
I don't even have a
Yeah.
moderator, Marilyn, and we haven't had
I know,
any
see?
bullshit happen
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I don't really I mean, I have a lot of moderators, like, but they're just friends that have wrenches just in case they see a troll, but I only ever tell them like, I only ever line anybody up if it's, like, something like this where, I'm interviewing somebody, I wanna be able to, like, look them in the eye, which you're not doing with me right now.
I know, and
But,
I've gotten in trouble
just
for it.
kidding, I'm just teasing you. But, yeah, if I really wanna somebody's pouring their heart out and I don't wanna be like, "Hey," just, like, bumping people out, but because I've had trolls, I don't know why. Maybe we can talk about this offline.
Mhm.
I'm a fucking magnet for them, man. I don't understand.
I can help you with that.
You
This
can?
is my opinion, but it's from, interviewing that narcissistic psychopath,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's something that I think is true. You seem like a very empathic person to me. And if you are, that means you have high emotion or you have um that's what a narcissist or these
That's
kind of people would be attracted to because the more fuel as HG calls it, the more you would have to give off as an empathic person. So he said it's
yeah,
like
that
a
dude scares me. He scares the shit
yeah,
out of me.
but
I'm
you can
very
learn from him. These
yeah,
are
but
the
I'm
kind of
very
people that you
interested.
might be
Yeah,
attracting
he's like,
because of the very thing that you're just talking about. He
wow. So glad
basically
my husband's not
said,
like
"Yeah, yeah." He sounds like the opposite.
yeah,
But
he
the
is.
thing that he said, Marilyn, that I think is absolutely spot on. I've seen it in my life or whatever. If you are empathic and you care, you have a tendency to project that onto other people, thinking that they might be the same way. So you can be roped in by a narcissist or a psychopath much easier because you're going to be more forgiving. You're going to think it's your fault, which sets you up for a cult, by the way, because they get a lot of people in there that want to
Yeah.
help. Right? That's
Mm,
the help thing. But he says that you're always going to have that as a problem because in his world, whether the narcissist is conscious of it or not, they see people like you. He used like spectrums of color where you literally can sense just by walking into a room who to target, who the empathic person is, who the normals are, and who the other psychopaths are. Again, most of
how do
it's
you guard
unconscious
yourself
by
against
somebody like this.
that? So I'm always gonna
You
have
have
this
to know
problem?
about it so that you can tell them to go fuck themselves, and you can also
Yeah, see,
recognize
that's
it so
hard to
you can
do. I feel
bail. It's the
bad.
same thing I have the
Like, there's
hardest time
people I
doing.
really wanna block off my channel because they just, like, won't leave me the fuck alone, but then it's like, I should just be able to rise above that and not have it bother
It
me.
I feel you though, Marilyn. That's the constant conundrum. And all he said was that the more you can learn about that and be aware of it, there is a way to fix it. As soon as you realize somebody like that is in your life, rather than negotiate with them for 20 years of your life, like I had to do with my family, to try to fix them, to
Right.
try to get them to see the light. If you can spot these kind of people, you get out
Yeah.
and stay out. You simply don't have anything to do with them. And I can tell you, when I finally started doing that, when I came across this guy's information, he pounded home that point. It's
Mhm.
kinda like a form of disconnection, which I always in Scientology, that's a bad thing,
Right.
but I in the real world, it's about having boundaries, and I'm no professional at this. I talk with Kelly about this too, man, because I think she might be a magnet for these people too. But the basic idea is that to know that about yourself and to know that
Yeah,
you're always going to attract people like that, and that it's okay to have boundaries and to not, once you do spot these people, to basically not give them the time of the day, a form of
yeah.
disconnection. Again, I hate to
Because I
use that
think the
word,
more
but
you give them, it's like they just fucking push me to where see, I have this thing where I have a certain threshold,
mhm,
and I don't
me
like
too.
as I'm like the Hulk. You won't like me when I'm angry. If you push me over the edge, I will flip the fuck out,
Me
and
too, and that's
yeah,
why I
so it's like
overreact on people
just
when that happens. I
I
know
can't
exactly what you're
stand
talking
when
about.
certain people will just bring you right to the edge and pull back, and then bring it and then, like, what I hate too is when, and Marlene used to do this all the time. Marlene, is she would create
Keep
the
saying it.
injury, she would wound me, and then be the one to give the Band-Aid.
Problem, reaction, solution. Create the problem, get the emotional reaction, and then offer the solution. And by the way, Marilyn, you just described what cults do. That's exactly what they do. I didn't have problems. I didn't have a reactive mind. There was nothing for Scientology to
Right,
fix.
yeah,
They made the trauma, made the problems, and then said, go into session. We have the solution. And they fix the very problems that you give. So when I got out, not only did I have all the problems of childhood and that I didn't handle by being a normal human, but I had to undo all the problems that were given to me by Scientology. They were never mine. There was never any problem to
yeah,
begin with.
yeah,
It's just like you say, the Christians, they say you're a born sinner, where a guy I never met before I pop out of the womb, I'm already beholden to somebody. I'm already a piece of shit. And that sets you up for the very cycle
you
of,
owe
well, let us
right,
give you the solution. And by the
right,
way, it's only going to
right,
cost you,
yeah.
remember, he's this, that, and the other thing, but he loves you and he needs fucking money.
Yeah, and
It's
you
the
you
oldest
think of
scam
it
in the
this
book.
way you think of it this way, it's like, okay, there's, somebody who, is wants you to love them, to worship them, right?
Hmm.
To devout everything you have. You owe everything to them. If you, think about anything else, anybody else, if you, try to do anything that they don't want you to do, but they love you, but they're gonna throw you in hell where you're gonna burn forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Now, what does that sound like to you?
A narcissist.
There you go. That's why I always thought God, the
God
God
is a
of the
narcissist.
Bible, especially the Old Testament, is a narcissist. A true God would never need the humans' puny little bowing down to them, all the rules and regulations. I mean, is God that insecure? It's just
He
so,
needs money,
he
and he
needs
can't
money
manage
and
it.
he's a narcissist and he's very controlling.
Oh
Oh my
my
God.
god, I'm just waiting for the lightning bolt.
Hey, it's coming any day. Don't you know? I mean, this girl is going to deliver it. I'm telling you, if you just would have been in there for
Stay
another
ready.
40 years, you would have gotten
Well, that's
grace
what
and
she looked
vessels
like. That's what she looked like then. She's had a lot of
used to
plastic
look like.
surgery. She looks
She is
like
beautiful. She has the
she's
look of a
gorgeous.
cult leader.
I kinda
Just
worshipped her. Yeah, the flower in her hair, the
was
lot
she charismatic? Was she
oh,
kind of
totally.
hypnotic?
Sweet. I could send you videos that she did recently with her husband.
Oh,
She
really?
did
We'll play those
okay.
in the next stream.
Yeah,
I'd like to actually
yeah.
see this gal in action.
Yeah, she's got a lot of Botox in her lips, hard for her to talk. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but
Any
sorry.
cult leader has to look a certain way. Hubbard
No,
could have
Marlene didn't. Marlene looked oh, sorry. Okay.
Hubbard, could have used some Botox and some fixing of the teeth. I look like, a skinny Lou
Skinny Lou
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno.
That's
Oh,
very
you look like the
funny. I
Hulk.
kinda do. I guess it's very funny.
You
I've
do,
never heard
yeah.
that before.
That's great.
That's so funny. You know
Awesome.
what?
You guys are awesome.
I think this is a good place to end off. We've been
Yeah.
going for 2 hours. I never wanna end off either because the chat's so cool, man, and
I
it's just so fun
know,
hanging
like
out. I don't want to
friends.
actually go,
She
but
does look like Marie Osmond. I thought that too.
yeah, good
She
call.
does
Good
look like
call. The
Marie,
cult
but she
leader.
wasn't Mormon. And just for the record,
Oh,
I
right,
was never
child.
a Mormon. I was never Mormon. I never met a Mormon. So, yeah, I'm not a Mormon.
Don't say it's a cult, Marilyn, because there's so many Mormon apologists, even Mormons that don't think that that one is a destructive cult, but I say absolutely it
Well,
is.
that's fine, but there's a certain troll that, was, schooling me because I'm a Mormon, and, that's what Mormons do, is what I do.
Right, right, right. Quantum entanglement. Is that teal swan? I mean, are you guys bagging on Teal Swan? Do you know who Teal Swan is,
I
Marilyn?
do. I watched that. What was that called? The
She's
Deep End?
was that was fucking good, man.
That
That was
was
good.
wild. I
That
love when
exposed the
the cult leader is such a narcissist that
I
they decide to go
know.
online. Like, have you seen LuLaRich? Have you seen the one about the leggings? The cult
I don't think
the
so.
2 CEOs, well, it's about leggings, so you're probably like, "I'm not watching that, it's about clothes." But it was 2, the 2 founders, they were like, because they just love the camera, right? So they're
Yeah.
just such narcissists that they ended up making themselves look like assholes. It was hilarious, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Teal Swan is like the ultimate narcissist. I mean, they
Creepy, but
definitely
she's got
exposed her.
that, yeah, she
Well,
just said
she's
that
she
kinda,
people would say she's beautiful. I don't. I
yeah,
if somebody looks a certain way, but their eyes are dead and their personality isn't
yeah,
right, they're not attractive to me. So I don't find her attractive, but she uses her beauty and she uses this. As you know, Marilyn, it's that kind of psychopathy can
yeah,
create an energetic pull
yeah.
and charisma that you
It
might
is,
actually think
it's like
they're
fly
powerful
yeah, it's
people,
like the yeah,
right?
it is, yeah, totally mesmerizing. She's
Hindsight
mes
is 2022, by the way, because all I can see all the signs now, of why I
yeah.
was being pulled to. I mean, well, Hubbard definitely didn't have the looks thing going on.
Well, no,
He
Marlene didn't either. She looked like, okay, I'm gonna say it because I don't wanna, uh,
We'll end off with a
trash on her
fucking
looks, but
Marlin.
she looks like a female version of Keith Raniere. Like the
That is
mousy
just
brown hair, the glasses, yeah, dorky, yeah. But she was smart, and she was smart, right? But she was very
wow.
studious, and, we're gonna yeah, we'll talk about that next time, but
We
yeah, she
will,
had
and,
her appeal too.
that I'm not sure people are gonna wanna tune in if they're gonna see a visual of a fucking female version of Keith Raniere. That's pretty hideous, man. I mean, could you be
And
any
we were all
less charismatic
fasting.
than him? Could you be any less good looking? I mean, even the volleyball thing, could you look any more like a space creep?
She didn't do volleyball. We were all fasting and wasting away, and she was not. She was sneaking food to her room, and, I can't pick on her looks because, I'm pretty, chubby myself now, but that's
Mhm.
probably why I like food because of all the deprivation.
Yeah, no shit. I feel you on that. You look beautiful, Marilyn. Stop
Thank you.
cutting yourself down, man. Damn it, what were we just talking about? Yeah, it's starting to
Oh,
hit
I don't
me
know.
now.
We're all over the place. It's been great, though.
I
I love
know.
it.
Okay, we'll end off. Guys, I hate to go, but, I
I
guess we're
know.
out
It
of
was
here.
so much fun.
We'll do a part 2, like, in a week.
Yeah.
Does that sound good, Marilyn? We'll
Yeah.
schedule it up,
Yeah.
and then,
Sounds awesome.
we'll get
Yeah.
into the really creepy shit, but the
Yeah. Thanks,
creepy cult
everyone.
shit. But I'm glad we got the heavy stuff out of the way because
Yeah.
I was
I just wanna say, I had a couple people,
oh,
not to put a plug in, but I had a couple people ask, about my channel.
I'm
So
so
I
sorry.
do
I
have a
was
You no, that's okay.
damn
I
it, I
do
was
have a
gonna
YouTube
do that.
channel. I see you. I see you. I see you. Yeah, it's, the way you can remember it is, okay, so coffee first, right? They always say coffee first. It's coffee, cults, and crafts. So coffee first, cult is in the middle, cult sandwich, and crafts because I crochet, as you see the yarn behind me. So it's coffee, cults, and crafts,
Let
and,
me
it's
show
part of what
something.
we do.
I do have that in the description box, so let me show
Okay.
people how they can easily find it here. I'm so sorry that I mean,
No, it's
you
fine.
obviously got me hammered tonight. I couldn't even be professional, but let me show people where they can find it easily.
It's all good. This has been great.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I needed to have it be casual because you guys have all been awesome and fun.
Me
If as
too,
fun as
man.
it could be.
Yeah. So you guys can see, let's see. Okay, so
Sorry.
if you go into the description box of this video, it's already published. Damn it, I didn't even get the right one. Hang on. I wonder if I can go onto the one that we're on right now. I think so. Okay, so
Sorry.
if you go, okay, so this is the video that we're on right now, and it's already in the description box. If you'd like to find Marilyn and her foundation, so she helps out too, you just hit more, so you can pull down the description box, and here you go. Marilyn Honig's YouTube channel, Coffee, Cults, and Crafts, link right here. Marilyn's also the founder of a nonprofit, Berkshire Helping Hands, helping fire survivors, and vulnerable members of the community. And there's a link right here. And then to follow her crafts and creations. She has an awesome, really explosive. I mean, you got a lot of followers on that Facebook page, don't you,
Facebook
Marilyn?
page, yeah.
That's where
That's
it all
really
kind of
fun.
started in many ways,
And you don't
right?
have to do crafts. Yeah, it's the first thing
No,
I
you don't have
did.
to do crafts at
Yeah,
all. It's
no.
just a great place to hang out at.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got all the
Oh,
information. Marilyn will link that information in her description box if
yep,
you're on
I'll do
her
that.
channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do because she puts out content all the time, and she's just a lovely lady. I'm so just thanks for
Thanks.
being in our community, man. There
Thanks,
must be
Doug.
something
Bye-bye.
about the ex Scientologists that attract so many empathic, good people because we have a whole slew. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we're all nutters, Marilyn. Scientologists have a lot to get over. We have a lot of narcissism and shit, and we fight amongst each other. But it's the people around the community that are sane like you that come in here that help us out. So I just really appreciate you being here. I know many other people do too.
Well, thanks, Doug. This has been awesome, and I consider you a friend, and
You
I'm
too,
just
man.
honored to know you. And yeah, I just like your personality, what you're doing. Uh,
Thanks. You too.
yeah, I just think it's awesome to have this really cool chat. It's like kind of hanging out at night. I
I
like it.
love this. I love this. We'll do it late at night again,
Totally.
too, because
Yeah,
one of the things that I know we were both anticipating is just getting past that first part. I really appreciate you being open and sharing, Marilyn, but I was kind of walking on eggshells because I don't want to accidentally ask you something. So it's good that we could just be more casual. And the next one,
yeah,
we'll keep it the same way. But it's been
yeah.
really, really
No,
enlightening.
you did a good job. I felt comfortable. I mean, as comfortable as you can possibly
Yeah,
feel, you know? I mean, you let me
good.
light up a cigarette. I had
Your husband did that. You weren't supposed to
Yeah,
smoke in
that's
the house,
true,
young
that's
lady.
true. But, you guys were really, really supportive, and I really appreciate it. You took care with it. I think it's a good thing for people to know, our
Definitely.
stories.
Thanks for sharing. And we're going to leave out with this,
Right?
guys. We'll see you soon. And Marilyn will be back in a week to share the part where she actually gets into the cult and the most important part, which she gets out. And maybe you can offer some tips too to help people get out of a cult, Marilyn, because we've gone into depth in our conversation. So, my friends, have a good night and we'll see you soon.
Good night, everybody.